1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
The one thing nobody's talking about when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We're back together again after Perloff was away for the week. And unfortunately, we're not in the same studio. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm here holding it down in the New Jersey studios. Perloff, though, back at headquarters in New York. And Pearl, welcome back. Is that a tan I see? A little?
Oh, no. I basically, I was in full protective gear in Costa Rica, in the sunny beaches of Costa Rica. Everybody was getting burned, and I was the one on vacation writing, hey, I didn't get burned at all today when we were doing this outdoor activity. That's how lame I am right now.
Well, I mean, listen, stay safe. We're excited to hear more about your vacation because I know you're chomping at the bit to talk about some of the things that we had to say last week and some things you vehemently disagree with. But first, we got to get into Shedeur Sanders because, you know, listen, it's not really news anymore when the top quarterbacks don't want to work out at the combine. And the combine's going to start this week, the scouting combine in Indianapolis. And to be honest, I don't really... It doesn't really matter to me anymore. You know, we've seen a lot of guys who have been really, really good in this league who have not gone through the pomp and circumstance of the underwear Olympics. But can I tell you one thing I am a little concerned about for Shedeur Sanders? It has nothing to do with his rap career or the cars or the watches or even being Deion's son. It's some of the actual football scouting that's coming out about Shedeur. And let me tell you what I mean. And Alex, let's play a little from Greg Cosell. So Greg Cosell is one of the great talent evaluators that we have in football. Not a hot taker, not doing it for the headlines, not doing it for the clicks. He's not a mock draft guy. He's just going purely off of skill and off of talent. So let's hear a little of Greg Cosell, who was on the Ross Tucker podcast. And here, first, let's set it up about some of the things that Shedeur is going to have to work on when he gets to the NFL. Play cut one.
And he was under a lot of pressure. There were a lot of plays where he had no chance, zero chance. But what he does have a tendency to do, and this also has to be cleaned up, is retreat backwards. And you know this as an offensive lineman. You can't retreat backwards in the NFL.
Okay, so that's number one. First, he also said that Shedeur's not that big, guys. So, we're going to see what his measurables are at the combine. That will come out. But he's not this big, huge 6'5" quarterback. Nothing like that. He also says, Greg Cosell, again, this is the talent evaluator, says Shedeur is not going to be someone who necessarily...
You're talking about a shorter quarterback who's a pocket player. So to me, he's a ball distributor and an executor of an offense. He needs the system to work for him. He needs a run game. He needs a good O-line. He's a piece. He's a piece of an offense.
Can we hear from Greg Cosell?
We might be having some technical difficulties.
Can you guys hear me?
I hear you. We're figuring this out. Maggie's in the home studio. Greg Cosell was just saying that Shedeur Sanders, something about structure and the way Greg Cosell always says the word structure. So, Maggie, let's get to the bottom line here. Okay, I watched Shedeur Sanders at Colorado, and Greg Cosell's a tape expert, but that guy's a baller. Like, what? Are you kidding me? He was getting killed, and he was still making plays with Colorado all the time. And he's saying he's not good under pressure. That guy faced so much more pressure than anyone under college. Wouldn't that make him battle-tested for the NFL?
Well, not according to Greg, because apparently he's going backwards way too much. And I also thought Greg had an interesting comp Perloff for Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
And if we're talking about a guy who's being drafted maybe as high as 2 to the Cleveland Browns or 3 to the New York Giants or high like that, let's hear another clip from Greg. And this is the comp he has for Shedeur Sanders at the NFL level.
You know, the player, I've talked to some scouts, the name that often comes up as a comparison for him is Geno Smith. And Geno Smith is a little bit bigger with a better overall arm, but he's probably that kind of quarterback.
Okay, well, let's remember what happened at the draft famously with Geno Smith. Famously, Geno Smith dropped out of the first round in a quarterback draft that was really light. That this was not a gangbusters draft where Geno Smith all of a sudden got pushed down because there was so much talent. In fact, it was kind of embarrassing for Geno. He ends up getting taken by the Jets in the top of the second round. And Geno, for some circumstances that are his fault, some are not, he ended up becoming a real late bloomer. But if you took Geno Smith with the 3rd overall pick or the 4th overall pick, he'd probably go down in history as one of the all-time busts. So I guess here's my thing about Shedeur. I would caution a little. Just because he's going to possibly get taken very high in this draft doesn't mean that he's going to come in and be a difference maker like we saw Jaden Daniels last year or CJ Stroud the year before. He's not coming in with that kind of profile at all. So this is where I think we have to start talking about Shedeur maybe a little bit more realistically. Yeah, he's a baller. Okay, you liked it. Good. But for him to be at the top of this draft, he might just be the circumstances and might not be because of what he's actually putting on tape.
Wait a second. First of all, you say C.J. Stroud like it was obvious that C.J. Stroud was going to be a hit. And all the things you're saying about, I mean, everybody had negative takes on C.J. Stroud, saying he was completely a system quarterback at Ohio State. No one knew C.J. Stroud was going to be the guy to hit over Bryce Young. And maybe someone did, but it was not a common take. So you say that now like everyone knew. Geno Smith is, I understand, Greg Cosell looks at tape and he's saying the tape is there. But first of all, personality-wise, they're exact opposites, 180-degree opposites. Second of all, Geno Smith was at West Virginia with Dana Holgorsen. That guy had never even sniffed a pro style off. Like, he had no idea what an NFL offense looked like. Shedeur has been basically, I assume, running an NFL offense because he has like 20 NFL coaches, Pat Shurmur and all those guys. Shedeur is old. He's experienced. He has been battle tested. Like, no, all Geno had to do was go back and throw to 7 wide open receivers every time he dropped back in college. He had no idea what the NFL was about. So I don't get that analogy at all. I think Shedeur is going to be ready to go. And I think the stuff in Colorado makes him even better. You got to put the way he played in context too. Yeah, he was dropping back, but if Shedeur didn't make plays for that Colorado offense, like what was going to happen? They couldn't run the ball, and they were playing usually better teams in the last 2 years. He had to make all those plays. So Greg saying that he backed up and got killed, like, I don't totally understand that because I saw him make a lot of plays in tough situations, especially that 2 years ago when the line was just awful. I don't know. I feel like bad teams might be attracted to that. Be like, whoa, he kind of made something out of nothing here, and we got a bad offensive line. Maybe Shedeur can help us look okay.
Yeah, I think that the Big 12 defenses, and I know it's not like what we had, 10 years ago, and the defense have gotten a little bit better in the Big 12, but it's not like that's gangbusters.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying?
And look at Cam Ward in the ACC. I mean, that's an absolute joke. I mean, the ACC basketball is better defense. Miami, Cam Ward would drop back, throw the ball 8 yards, and everyone would run free every game. So I don't think that's true anymore, the Big 12 versus other conferences. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying that Big 12 defenses are not NFL defenses. And the other part is that Shedeur is most likely going to be going where? To a team that I bet's not going to have a great offensive line, especially if it's someone like the Giants, or if you want to say, the Browns are, I think, losing a lot of guys on the offensive line. Like, this is the way the draft is set up. He's not walking into a great team,
right.
Especially the higher he goes, the worse the team's going to be. And he doesn't move around. See, the one thing that Cam Ward has, and not to just make it a comp against these two guys, but Cam Ward has a few more traits that could help him out early in his career, like his ability to move around a little bit more than Shedeur and other things like that. But if we're just sticking on Shedeur, we'd love to hear from you at 855-212-4227. And, I think it's possible that Shedeur ends up being a bust.
Well, anything's
First of all,
possible.
It's possible that anybody becomes a bust, but I don't think that we're talking about that at all with some of the traits that he has and how that can be a really difficult transition into the NFL. And let's put on top of it one more thing. If Shedeur ends up going to, or really doesn't matter, but let's say it's New York, let's say it's Vegas, let's say it's the Jets, so either the Giants or the Jets, whatever it's going to be, this is not a place where you can develop quietly. If you go to the Tennessee Titans, you might not have people breathing down your neck after game 5, that you like, when are you going to finally show up? When are you going to produce? There's certain markets, Pearl, you know it, I know it, that get a lot more antsy. You have owners that could be really, trigger happy, feeling pressure. There are a couple spots where if Shedeur lands in the wrong situation, this could be really, really difficult for him. And I don't know what Deion does then, because if they say they love that he goes to the Giants, or they want him to go to the Raiders or what have you, and he struggles, well, what's Deion going to say?
Well, I don't understand. Will Levis was in Tennessee, and he was a national punchline, and that was as hidden as you could be. New York Giants, who cares about the New York Giants outside of New York? I feel like they're 1:00 every game. I think he could hide there a little bit. And the Raiders, the Raiders are high profile, but the bar is so low there. I think all these spots, and wait, back to one thing you said, you're saying the offensive lines are bad on these teams. So are they supposed to never draft a quarterback? Or does he have to be super mobile? At a certain point, you have to bite the bullet and take a quarterback, even if your offensive line is bad. Because otherwise, the Giants are probably never going to draft a quarterback and have Tommy Cutlets for the rest of the time. You can't wait for the offensive line to be good here. I just feel like at some point you have to take this leap of faith if you're a bad franchise. And of course there's a bustability with Shedeur Sanders, but that's true with every quarterback. I think that everything you said is valid. Yes, of course he could be a bust, but it's, he has a lot of traits that could work out. And I think all these teams, Cleveland, Tennessee, Giants, Raiders, if you squint, you could definitely make Shedeur Sanders work because he's old like Jaden Daniels. He has a lot of experience. I think, of course he could be a bust, but the risk there is a little less than some guys. I mean, he's not coming out of nowhere. So I feel like this is a safe risk to some extent, Maggie.
I think if you're comparing him to Jaden Daniels, you're doing him a really big disservice. Jaden Daniels turned in one of the all-time great statistical seasons in college football, won the Heisman, and was this was turnkey for him to go into the NFL. I don't think Shedeur is going to have that same experience. And I mean, they won 9 games at Colorado. It's a great improvement. It definitely was a great story.
Yeah.
It still is a good story. But for some of these specific things, you're saying, should a bad team never draft a quarterback because they have a bad line? Well, maybe not a short one who's going backwards, who, might specifically struggle in that area.
Wait, but first of all, forget Jaden Daniels. What about Bo Nix was good? Penix looked good in his short time. McCarthy was probably going to be good. There are a lot. I'm not sure that quarterbacks are busting as much as they used to. And we didn't know about, we had no idea Jaden was going to be this good either. I mean, I picked him for Rookie of the Year. I thought he was going to be good. Yeah. But one thing I did like about Washington, they put him with an old, experienced coach in Dan Quinn and a good offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury. Like a team as bad as the Raiders, they have a Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly combo, and the Giants have Brian Daboll. And there is, again, nothing's ever going to be perfect. I think at a certain point, you have to take the risk that this guy, I know this guy could be a bust, but we got to take a quarterback anyway, Maggie. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, who cares what happens to him? We got to take a quarterback. Let's hit the phones, Pearl, early and often here. How about our pal Jay in Nashville? If you want to weigh in on Shedeur Sanders, 855-212-4227. Jay, you there, pal?
Hey, good morning, y'all. I had to wake up to this foolishness. Who's this guy? Cosell? Is this Howard Cosell's son or something?
I don't think he's Howard's son, but he's a very respected
Nephew.
Draft analyst. Oh, it's his nephew.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, man. They always call these guys draft experts. Every year they don't know what they're talking about. It's like this person's going to be drafted here, he's going to draft there, and this, that, and the other. And he's got tiny little hands, so he's not going to be a good quarterback and all that different type of stuff. Most of them don't even know what they're talking about. They go with the negative because, like you said, Maggie, most of them, all these guys, I hate it when they go, I want to go be drafted first. Oh, yeah, okay, be my guest because you're going to go to a sorry team that can't protect you. You're better off going low in the draft. And the thing, like you said, Maggie, most of them are going to be a bust because they're going to bad teams.
Yeah.
So it's like these draft experts come up with all this negative stuff so they can be like, I told you so. It's like, dude, come on, man. You already know the odds are favored for any of these quarterbacks to be a bust. So it's like, shut up with that foolishness. But as far as Shedeur, I think people need to, I think people need to learn the lessons. Don't bet against these Sanders. They bet against them all the time, every level, and they still prove everybody wrong. So it's like, when is everybody going to learn their lessons? To just shut up and sit back and let things crumble where they may.
Wait, who bet against Deion?
Well, in Colorado.
You guys.
I did.
Oh, as a coach, but
guys.
not as a player. Not as a player.
No, as a coach, I'm saying that we've been dealing with this the past 3-4 years. They're going to be a bust, this, that, and the other, and it's like the negativity towards Deion, his sons, both his sons, and their ability to do this, that, and the other, and they prove these people, these naysayers, wrong every time. It's in that kid's blood. It's in his dad's blood. It's kind of like, leave it alone. Really, I hope he goes low in the draft. And that's the one thing I hear Deion talking about. We're not going to go 6. For him to go 6 would be the best spot because he got Tom Brady, who is his mentor right there with the Raiders. And I'm sure they're going to make the right choices to put people around him. But, we're even saying this, and they're talking about he's not mobile. It's like, dude, we're saying the same thing about that kid out of Ohio State that's playing at Houston right now. We didn't know he was mobile, but Shedeur really is mobile. He's mentored by Tom Brady. He chooses not to use his wheels that much because he's really trying to. Remember I used to live in Alabama, and we were dealing with this with Bryce Young. Everybody's like, how come he doesn't run? He doesn't want to run. You know what I mean? And he can run. It's just he chose not to. And I think that's the same thing with Shedeur.
Jay, here's the thing about that, and you're making a good point. First of all, I don't think that Greg Cosell really is a hot taker. He's not Howard Cosell. He's totally different. He actually said the second best quarter in this draft is Tyler Shaw, the guy from, where did he play, Pearl?
Texas Tech.
From Texas Tech, yeah. And so he has Cam Ward, and then Shedeur's actually third. So I think he is trying to be, hey, just what the tape tells me. And Jay, thanks for the call, dude. Good to hear from you. The one thing is we also can't get blinded by the last name, okay? So it's not about being overly negative about Shedeur or doubting the Sanders family or anything, but also let's look at the tape. He has things that have to get cleaned up at the NFL level. Listen, they all do. The question is, does he have the physical, not to say tools, because he's got a good arm, but if he's short and if he's going shorter than we think and he's going backwards, Perloff, that's not doubting the Sanders family. That's just a reality of what he could be facing in the NFL.
I spent a lot of time with Greg in New Orleans at the Super Bowl, ironically, on the weekend. Tyler Shuck is like 37 years old, so I don't even know what we're talking about there. But of course he's good. He played college football for 23 years.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, Cam Ward went backwards all the time. I know he did some Patrick Mahomes things, but Shedeur is sneaky athletic. I totally agree with Jay. I saw him get out of so many tackles, and he doesn't want to run downfield. I love what he just said about C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud never ran at Ohio State.
Nope.
And it turns out, he's pretty mobile in the NFL. So I got to give Shedeur the benefit of the doubt. He is Deion's kid. He's not as fast as Deion, but again, I'm getting all worked up here. I feel like I have to defend the Sanders honor here. I admit, I agree with Jay. I did underestimate Deion at Colorado in the sense that I know he didn't win a title. I thought it was going to be terrible because they were awful. So I do think there's a little Sanders magic. Is that possible? Have I bought in? Am I a sucker?
There might be Sanders magic, but I'm telling you, Pearl, he's going backwards against Big 12 defenses. It's going to be a lot different when he's going backwards, if he's going backwards against NFL defenses. But let us know what you think at 855-212-4227. Okay, Perloff was on vacation, but yet monitoring the show from afar.
Yeah. Didn't like anything that was going on here. Had a lot of
Very
issues.
upset.
A lot of issues, Maggie. All right, second half of the basketball season is here, and the race to the playoffs is heating up on Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. So simple to use. You pick 2 or more players across any sport. We're talking basketball, we're talking golf, hockey. There's so much going on right now. Pick more or less on their projection, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Don't miss your chance to cash in as the league's best fight for playoff positioning, and Luka is getting cooking. It is an amazing time to play Prize Picks. All you have to do is join Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It's available to play in more than 40 states, including California and Texas. All you do is download the Prize Picks app today and use the code MNP and get a $50 bonus in promo funds instantly when you play $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks to get a $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 bonus credit for just playing. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. $30 remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Andrew Perloff here in the New York studio. Maggie is at the home studio for today. So I was in Costa Rica for the week. You guys tried to make do without me, but did not do a great job, in my opinion. I'm just going to put it out there because I disagreed with so many things, so many takes. Actually, I guess you did do a great job because I was getting angry internationally at some of these sports opinions that were issued on this show. And Andrew Bogusch, who's sitting here, was also not here last week.
Yeah, so I want none of this heat.
Yes, but I got to tell you right now, you're going to get mad at some of these takes, too. Basically, the two adults in the room were not here, and there were hot takes flying left and right.
You came in fired up about this, and you started to direct the angst at me, and I had to remind you that I was not part of the show last week, and I did sit in the newsroom and probably have some of the same objections that you did.
Yeah, okay. So let's play. This is one. This one you might not object to, but this is a take that caught my attention from many miles away. This is Maggie talking about new Chicago Bears coach Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, who hasn't called a coin flip in the NFL, and Mike Vrabel, now the co-betting favorites to win Coach of the Year. Listen, Ben Johnson might be the next, Bill Walsh, and I'll eat my words. This dude hasn't done anything yet. He's going to a much worse team in the Chicago Bears, who play outside with a quarterback who's got way more influence than you ever will. And we think that this is going to just be snap of the fingers awesome. To think that he's not going to have any growing pains as a head coach, to me, is setting him up to fail. He's going to go through trials and tribulations just like every other first-time guy.
All right, accurate, but what's Maggie's problem with Ben Johnson? Ben Johnson ran the most creative offense we've seen in forever in Detroit. You didn't know if they were going to run the ball, if they were going to pass, where the run was going to go.
They fell down on purpose.
He's the most creative offensive coordinator in the league, and I don't for 1 second believe any of that was Dan Campbell. For 1 second, I don't believe anything that you saw on offense. So he was basically the offensive head coach there, and we saw he was awesome. So I understand. Of course, Maggie's right. He could go through first-year head coaching problems, and the Bears are doomed at quarterback. But I still feel like this is an unnecessary shot at a promising coaching prospect. And, of course, he could be a bust, but I still think, wow, the Bears really won this coaching carousel by far.
They got the guy everybody wanted. And I think, if I remember correctly, Maggie really didn't like the fake fall down play.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's still lingering here, holding it against Ben Johnson.
You know that Ben Johnson, the report was he wanted to actually have Goff fumble the ball.
Right.
And then pick it up and throw along, which is kind of awesome. As someone who's just a huge fan of trick plays in the Andy Reid thing. So I was sitting there on the beach sipping a virgin pina colada because I'm a little girl. No,
now, in Maggie's defense, and I guess the show's defense, you were too still connected to us. You really didn't break away on vacation. We were in the group text, and then all of a sudden you respond first to things. What are you doing?
Oh, I should have. Oh, that was a mistake. I know that was kind of lame. But you guys, the group text was making me even more mad. What was the thing in the group text that was infuriating me?
Well, the one time you didn't realize it was the group text. You thought it was just you and Maggie, and you started asking about congestion pricing, and I responded. You're like, oh, everyone's here.
Oh, right. Did you see when I left the thread? Was that noticed by anyone?
Not by me.
No, I don't. It actually, I think, went unnoticed. I saw it, but I made no comment about it.
Oh, yeah. What was it? You guys were talking about something that was so annoying to me. It was maybe the Knicks. I can't even remember, but I was like...
Probably the Knicks.
I actually thought I'm like, maybe I don't come back because this is... maybe I stay in Costa Rica, except the sunburn would have been too much. Anyway, it's great to be back, and Maggie is in the home studio today. She'll be connecting shortly, but luckily for us, we have Andrew Bogusch. I didn't even know you were off last week. Nobody tells me anything
As
here.
per usual.
Yes.
You're paying no attention to me.
Yes, but I
appreciate that. I really do.
And I guess it was a big hockey week last week, too, and you are our resident hockey expert, and you missed all that.
So I think that might have been where I shared your sentiment from afar, because there was a hockey conversation on the show the morning after the Four Nations face-off. And I didn't necessarily agree with a couple of things they were talking about, Maggie and AJ.
All right, well,
that's when I left that chat.
All right, what do you got today?
I got headlines sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Now, I'm coming back, as you just said, from a week not here. So I want to return by making a pseudo-apology to Manny and to EJ, who's not here this morning. The Knicks, I like to give them a lot of crap. They are a good basketball team. I can finally say that out loud. They're good as long as they're not playing another good basketball team.
Tatum, pull up three in transition. Good night. 27-point Boston lead. They are blowing the Knicks out again.
Again, Sean Grande, Cedric Maxwell, Celtics Radio. Boston was nice enough to let the Knicks pull within 6 before winning 118-105 yesterday in Beantown. Tom Thibodeau's club is now 0 for 3 against the Celtics this season.
Cut it down
to 4. Probably a combination of things. One, they're elite, so and I think the volume 3-point shooting teams, you can do a good job, but it just takes 2 or 3 minutes of not getting it right, and they can go on a run on you.
6-4. They lost by 13, which is not losing by 37 2 nights before to the Cavaliers. So they are 0-5 combined as the 2 top teams in the East. Plus, they have a 25-point loss to the Thunder.
Have you ever seen a more textbook definition of pretenders? I mean, it's actually pathetic.
The Knicks?
Yes.
Your Knicks?
Yes, my Knicks. Absolute pretenders. They look absolutely pathetic. Look, anybody can beat the Charlotte Hornets and the Brooklyn Nets and all of these other teams. But when it comes down to the top teams in your conference, forget the Eastern Conference. You can't beat the Thunder either. These are the top teams in the NBA, and you can't beat them?
Those are your actual 2025 number 1 in defensive rating Brooklyn Nets.
Well, congratulations. You're half a game back of the play-in.
Wait. I don't understand, and I'm being genuine because I'm a Sixers fan and we're a disaster, but I thought the Knicks, because they play good defense, are supposed to play good defense under Tom Thibodeau, they would be good against these good teams. What is going on with this team?
That identity, that defensive identity is completely gone, and it's just it stinks. It stinks because it's a Tom Thibodeau defense, and then you take a look at Karl Anthony Towns out on the perimeter. He can't do anything.
The last time I saw Manny last week, he had his chest all puffed out because the Knicks beat the Bulls by 2 in overtime without Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
By the way,
and they got hammered by the Cavs and Celtics.
Just to give you a little insight on Manny. Manny is a idiot savant at naming stadiums, and the reason I left the text thread is because Maggie and Manny and EJ, who's also not here today, had this long conversation about renaming the Rocket Arena. Is that
Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse is now Rocket Arena in Cleveland. That was known as the Gund Arena back when I was a baby.
Yeah. That was at 9:00 on a Friday night. I assumed everybody was drunk because why you were discussing the name of and excitedly discussing this. So I'm like, I got to get out of this or I'm going to ruin my vacation.
You didn't like my naughty joke in response to that?
I might not have heard it because I left the conversation. What did you say?
I don't know anymore if I'm allowed to say this. It was one of the words that was said on the show late last week that threw Maggie and EJ for a loop.
I got an idea where you're going.
Used it because JJ Redick used it, and then no one was sure if they should use it on the radio. So I used it in the text thread to compliment Dan Gilbert for changing the name to Rocket, whatever it is now, Arena.
Yeah, no, he's gone. He's not in that chat. I just found that text. He's not in there.
Well, you need to come back in. That's the show thread.
I don't know. It's a TBD.
Wait, I'm sorry. Am I back?
Oh,
Can you
yes.
guys hear me?
Hey, Maggie, what's
All
up?
right.
Oh, hey.
I'm sorry. Just
Maggie's
a little.
rejoined the show.
Just had to head down to my basement in my garage in New Jersey to check on my modem. But I just want to say one thing. Yes, JJ Redick and also, was it Ray Ferrara used the word glazing, right?
There
and I
it is.
think they didn't know the
boy.
definition. And Bogusch, when I tell you, you were ready to drop that. We could have been talking about a kid's bake sale and you would have dropped that.
Oh, no.
You just were ready to go.
Wow.
You found the opportunity. You shoehorned it in. You were waiting to use glazing, dude. That's you had it all planned out.
I will not accept shoehorn. It fit. I did not force that in there. I thought that was a good use of a very topical joke.
Well, I know that you were getting glazing in come hell or high water. But you know what? Here's the thing. Are we normalizing this word now? I don't think it means. I think the JJ Redicks of the world and the Ray Ferraras are making it mean something different.
Well, when Ray threw me for a loop when he said, I heard that one live, and I'm like, oh, wait. We can say that now? Like in regular conversations on national TV?
9 million people watch that hockey game. It's out there, man. Pearl, this is what you missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Maggie,
Your
why?
thoughts?
You're a very nice person. Even you. I mean, did you want to say something mean to Manny when he's like you were in on the Houston arena name? Like, who cares? What's going on?
Cleveland.
You had nothing going on Friday night. You have a family.
Yeah, exactly, which is why I have nothing to do on a Friday. If I didn't have the family, I'd be out.
Okay, all right. But to engage Manny in this, like, we can't encourage him to get more in depth on stadium names. Like, there's more to talk about in sports besides what the, what Creighton Stadium Arena play at. What is it, Manny?
You know, I'm not good at college. You know what? Probably Pfizer Forum, actually, because it's in Milwaukee, right? Oh,
No. Creighton plays in Omaha.
No, that's Marquette. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry. That
This
a
is
little
the
fascinating.
funniest part about this bit about Manny knowing all the arena names is that he doesn't actually know all the arena names. It's the best part of this whole thing.
He does know
Shi's
all the
Health
pros.
Center,
The
obviously.
Shy Health Center, Omaha.
Boom.
You know all the pro names.
I know. Yeah.
That's not
Congrats. Like, what? Is that a skill?
Where do the Nuggets play?
Ball Arena.
Yeah, nobody else knows that, Maggie. That is a huge skill.
Used to be Pepsi Center.
It's probably the only skill we have as a show right
The
now.
only skill I have.
Manny also knows all the state capitals. I don't know what I'm least impressed by.
I call that a superpower in my book.
No,
right,
we
Bogues.
love you. Sorry, Bogues, I interrupted.
Let me get back to the NBA for a second. The aforementioned Cavaliers topped the Grizzlies 129-123. The Thunder outscored the T-Wolves 130-123. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, 37 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. And the Suns lost in Toronto 127-109. Despite 61 combined points from Booker and Beal, Phoenix has now dropped 5 of 6.
Yeesh.
On ice in D.C., a huge jump towards history yesterday afternoon.
2:40 to go in the third period. And a puck that comes to Ovechkin. He scores! He did it! He did it! It's a hat trick for Ovechkin! Ty Emberson's stick broke on the center point shot attempt. And Ovechkin with a hat trick. It's 882.
882 career goals now after those 3 for Alex Ovechkin. The hat trick in a 7-3 rout of the Oilers. Ovi now needs just 13 to pass Wayne Gretzky for the most all time.
Is he going to do this in like 5 games? I mean, what is going on?
I mean, he's going to do it before St. Patrick's Day.
Amazing.
An NFL retirement yesterday. Safety Keanu Neal calling it a career after 8 seasons. He was the Falcons' first-round pick back in 2016, made the Pro Bowl the following season. All eyes last night on the LA Galaxy lifting their latest MLS Cup banner, but the expansion San Diego FC ruined everything with a 2-0 win. And
Chucky Lozano, Mexican soccer player on San Diego.
And a WNBA trade yesterday, the Washington Mystics sending 2-time All-Star guard Ariel Atkins to the Chicago Sky for the 3rd pick in the upcoming draft. EJ, whoever wants it, Manny, take it. I don't care.
Wait,
Pearl?
I have so many more issues from last week, too. The Ben Johnson one was just the tip of the iceberg. The great debate last week literally infuriated me while I was sitting under an umbrella watching the ocean come in. I almost wanted to call in. It was that bad. We have a lot of things that upset me. We're going to get to that next, right here, Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. If you're an NBA fan and you follow the way the NBA is covered, I think you're going to need a neck brace for whiplash around the Luka Doncic takes. I saw Mr. Stephen A. Smith, Maggie. Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie, I saw him say the Lakers have no chance with Luka about 4 days ago. And then I saw him come on TV last night after Luka destroyed the Nuggets on Saturday night and say, well, you know, the Lakers could easily win the title. So I have a question. Who is Luka Doncic on this Lakers team? Is he the guy who absolutely destroyed single-handedly the Nuggets in primetime on Saturday night? Is that the real Lakers now? Or is this an aberration? Like, I'm very confused by this entire situation. 32 points. Lakers finally beat the Nuggets, who've been their nemesis, and Luka looked amazing in every possible way. But again, like, can I trust that that's going to be there every night?
I don't think so. I think this is going to be part of the Luka experience. You know, it was amazing because you're right, and Stephen A. wasn't the only one who was burying him. You know, we were saying last week that he's tugging on his shorts, he looks really winded, couldn't play the back-to-back while LeBron is out there doing crazy things. And, man, not saying that Nico was right. Nico Harrison, the GM of the Mavericks who traded him away, will never say that Nico was right, but, man, was it looking a little dicey. Here's the thing, right? Luka somehow in high altitude, which you always say is harder to have these kind of games, the 32 points, the 10 rebounds, the 7 assists, he was incredible. I don't know how you could think you're going to get that every night, though. And this is what you're betting on, though, if you're the Lakers, that come playoff time, that's when you're going to get more of these type performances, and ultimately that will be the only thing that matters. But to anyone who says that you're going to get this every single night from Luka Doncic, like, you can't say that with a straight face, considering what we've seen this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He felt more like the Mavs' Luka Doncic, where he came to L.A., and I think he was probably deferring a lot to LeBron and everybody else on the Lakers. Felt like he was like, okay, I'm going to be the man here. Maybe that's what he's missing. Like, maybe he came and said, I'm going to be a team player. I'm going to move the ball more. Maybe they need Luka to be the same guy who was in the Mavs, and LeBron is the wingman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, listen, maybe LeBron had to have a conversation with him like Dwayne Wade had a conversation with LeBron once upon a time when they all teamed up with the Miami Heat. Now, listen, if that conversation happened, don't worry, we're all going to know about it. Like, it's going to become news. LeBron will get it out there that he's being the unselfish guy because, you know, this is LeBron and he's got to get all the positive headlines. We know that about him all these years into his career. But maybe that conversation did happen, or maybe J.J. Redick, you know, who is somebody who we've poked a lot of fun at, who we did not think was going to have a really successful tenure here with the Lakers. Maybe he is pushing the right buttons and has the right relationship with Luka where he can tell him, listen, you're the guy now, and this is the type of performance we need. But, weren't you just shocked? We're talking about conditioning and Luka's conditioning, yet he goes to Denver, which is one of the true home court advantages that you have in the NBA, and he's able to look like Superman.
Well, I don't know. I feel like that high altitude stuff is a little bit overblown. I mean, you've been to Denver. Is it that ridiculous? Like, I've gone running in Colorado, and it doesn't kill me. Of course, I'm in tip-top athletic shape.
Peak physical condition. I went to Denver, had one beer, and lost my wallet. I mean, no, the altitude definitely affects people, but it seems like not Luka.
Well, Luka's played there a million times. I hear you. And he played 31 minutes. He finally hit his three-point shots. That's the thing with Luka. Luka looks amazing when he hits his threes, or at least some of his threes, but he'll go 1 for 9, and he'll do it tomorrow or whenever they play next. Like, you never know. He's so hot and cold from outside. But the thing about Luka that I will give him, a lot of times in the playoffs, he hits those three-pointers. So I think that might have been a preview for the playoffs because it feels like the Lakers and the Nuggets play every year in the playoffs. If he gets hot from outside, like, oh, man, they're really tough to stop. Here's the other thing, too. What's the weakness of the Lakers? They have no interior defense. I heard Brian Windhorst on ESPN say they are leading the league in defense the last 18 games without Anthony Davis for most of that time. So they have a good perimeter defense that is making up for their lack of center. So what if J.J. Redick is really good? I have some bad freezing cold takes on J.J. Redick as a coach because not only did Lucas play well, they held the Nuggets at home to 100 points. That's a scary little formula right there. If they can play defense and Luka shows up on offense, I am all of a sudden getting nervous.
That's funny. If you hold a team to 100 points, does that mean you played great defense?
Oh, my God. The Nuggets at home in the NBA today? That's really good. No?
I don't know. It's just not something you usually hear. If you hold a team to like 85, in the NBA, it's like, oh, wow, that was good defense. But I'm with you on the JJ thing. We might all end up owing him a really big apology if he figures this thing out. Maybe we should have been listening to the podcast and taking notes on the horns down and all that stuff because he knows apparently knows what he's talking about. And it's more than that though in the NBA. Every coach who gets to that level clearly knows all the X's and O's you could possibly know. It's the other part too. And I'm wondering, is this more JJ Redick about the buy-in and chemistry and all that? Or is it the shock value and the wake-up call that it put to LeBron and Luka and how much it shakes up an organization when a trade like this happens? And, we thought that Luka maybe was still a little rattled even a few days after the fact. Maybe he's settling in now, and if that's what it looks like, it is pretty scary.
But, they just lost to the Hornets, so let's not.
They lost to the Hornets. They lost to the Jazz. It looked bad.
Well, that's the funny thing, too. So they beat the Nuggets 123-100. And I hate to do this because this is what we do for a living, but I feel like NBA narratives are a little ridiculous right now because when a team is losing, and I watched the games yesterday, the primetime games, when a team is losing, they seem to give up in the era of load management. So I felt like even the Nuggets, they killed the Nuggets, but every game feels a little lopsided to me. Like I was watching some games last night, and once you're down 20 in the fourth quarter, it's just like you start mailing it in. So I'm not sure. Does this mean if you beat someone decisively, does that mean it's going to happen the next night? To me, the way I'm seeing the NBA this year is this doesn't guarantee anything for the Lakers.
Well, you know what's tomorrow night, right?
Oh, yeah. Poor Mavs.
Lakers
Poor
playing
Mavs.
the Mavs. I know. Mavs are shorthanded, so this game is going to be in L.A., Mavs coming to town, and I have to imagine Luka's got something in store. If we thought that the Nuggets game was good, this is going to have to be not a Picasso moment, but I imagine as much as athletes say they don't care and they don't hold this resentment about teams that traded him, we know it's all BS. He definitely will. He's going to be absolutely motivated to embarrass his former team.
Right, but you know what? That situation sometimes backfires. If you want to come out, will he shoot too much, or will he try and do too much, or be too fancy or something? Luka does those Larry Bird passes. Is he going to try and put on a Harlem Globetrotters show against the Washington Wizards?
I don't know. 855-212-4227. Laker fans, if you're starting to feel a little confident, can understand why. And that's not the only trade that looks like it's obviously starting to work out. Perloff, I know you were watching a bit of the Warriors yesterday afternoon. Big win over those Mavs, those shorthanded Mavs. And Jimmy Butler now looks like he could have been that missing piece for Golden State.
Oh, he looks really good. I had a little side bet with our producer, E.J. Stewart. I thought the Kings were going to be really good after they got Valanciunas and all these guys, and the Warriors just humbled them. They are all of a sudden dangerous. The West is crazy, Maggie. It feels like we have the Warriors looming and the Lakers looming. I take them very seriously with Jimmy Butler, and Steph Curry just looks like he hasn't aged either. All of a sudden, the Western Conference is one of those. You can play video games where you put teams from different eras against each other. You have the 2020 Lakers and the 2022 Warriors and the Nuggets, and there's all these amazing older players. It really is a crazy conference. And ironically, the best team is in the East and the Celtics, and the second best team is the Cavs probably. But still, the West is just now very, very interesting. Do you think the whole complexion has changed since the trade deadline?
Yeah, I think the Warriors and the Lakers are making this very, very beyond interesting. I think that there's a different kind of motivation with these teams, and it's something that, if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, your motivation is a totally different type of thing, right? You're a young team that's trying to establish themselves. The Cavs, same thing, young team, guys haven't won yet, all of that. The motivation for these old heads and I'm not saying Luka's old, I'm saying for Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry, for these guys, and then for LeBron on the Lakers, I'm curious, what wins out? Is it young, hungry, guys who have never done it before? Is that what ends up being the final, who's standing tall? Or is it the dudes who are kind of on their, giving it the last ride, the last hurrah? And I'm not saying that Steph and LeBron are going to retire necessarily after the season, but it might be tempting to retire on a championship, possibly, if either of them could win it.
Oh, first of all, LeBron's not retiring ever. It's never. He's playing till he's 63 years old. And Steph, I don't think. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't think Steph's anywhere. He's playing so well right now. It feels weird. His game will age very well because I know you don't like this take, but he's not super athletic to start with. He's not
It's always funny to hear you say that.
Well, right, but he's not like a fast guy or a jumper guy like Anthony Edwards or something. Like that's what when I say he's not athletic, I mean he's not dunking on guys' heads. Like you know how Vince Carter lost his athleticism and never dunked late in his career. Curry never dunked early in his career, so that won't go away. That's interesting. Would they walk away with a title? Yeah, that would be nice. I think the funny thing is we're underestimating the Thunder have been so good. It almost feels like Jimmy Butler and Luka are stealing all the attention away, and they're still the dominant team.
855-212-4227. Luka looking great with the Lakers, and then you have Jimmy Butler fitting in seamlessly with the Warriors. I have to wonder when something like what happens with Golden State yesterday happens, does Steph Curry start to pause? Like, they retired Andre Iguodala's jersey yesterday. Like,
yeah.
That was his contemporary. Like, the fact that he's still playing and they were winning titles together, or at least a title together, right? Maybe two with the Iguodala, I can't remember. But that has to be a little crazy, like, for Steph to watch.
No, that is weird. When these guys' kids are coming in. When Bronny's in the NBA, for God's sake.
So weird. All right, coming up next, we'll check in on one future Hall of Fame quarterback. What's next for him?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Where is Matthew Stafford going to land? Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray. Andrew Perloff is back from vacation, but unfortunately, I'm a little bit under the weather. So he's in the New York studios. I'm in the New Jersey studios. But you know, Pearl, it's not going to stop us from talking about where the future Hall of Famer Matthew Stafford could land. And I've come around on the fact that he is a future Hall of Famer.
That sounds
and
funny.
You know what's crazy is we got the news over the weekend that the Rams are giving Stafford and his agent permission to look around the rest of the league and sort of gauge what a fair contract may be for Stafford at this age and what he might want, 2 years, 3 years. He's, 36 years old. And then come back to the Rams and see if they want to match it or top it or what have you. And I'm going to be honest, if I'm Matthew Stafford, I'm pretty insulted by this. And I don't know what Stafford's looking for. I don't know what he's asking for. But this is the kind of thing that we saw work out so horribly on offseason Hard Knocks for the Giants when they told Saquon Barkley, hey, go check the market, see what you can get, and then come back to us. And then ultimately they said, thanks, but no thanks. And Saquon Barkley was one of the biggest pieces and cogs in the Philadelphia Eagles winning a title. I know that the Rams already have a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, so maybe they feel like they've gotten what they wanted when they originally traded for him from the Detroit Lions. But if I'm Stafford, I feel pretty insulted by this. I think it's pretty widely thought about that of the older quarterbacks, he's got a lot left. The dude is super tough. Feels like he could walk into any system. He's smart. He elevates an offense. You know, I think that there's more likely a chance of a breakup now because I think that maybe feelings, maybe egos, maybe all that stuff starts getting in the way, something I did not think was on the table last week.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, last year it got kind of bad with him, right? Like they had to negotiate the deal because he had no guaranteed money. So they did a deal last summer that seemed really short term. So now they have to but they set it up so they were going to enter this offseason with another contentious situation. I kind of disagree with you. I think they're just doing smart business here because they're a team that could really use Matthew Stafford to take less money because they have a lot of young up-and-coming players and they need to build around Matthew Stafford if they want to win a Super Bowl. So if we're talking 3 years, $52 million a year or something, $160 million, like that really puts him in a tougher team-building situation. If they can get him to take a little bit less, that's a big deal as far as winning a Super Bowl, like a really big deal. I think it's just business, and I think they have every right to do that. Now, obviously, from a football standpoint, there's one team that makes sense for Matthew Stafford, and that's the Los Angeles Rams. Like, he should be here. If we take all the money out, right, he should be a Ram next year. Like, that's a perfect fit. So I think this is just smart business because look at their team. They got all these young guys who are coming up. If they can just save a little space, maybe get another receiver to replace Cooper Kupp, I think that they can be a Super Bowl contender. So I understand why they're playing a little bit of hardball.
Okay, sorry. Stafford is 37. He turned 37 earlier this month, so pardon me on that one. I don't think you play hardball with a guy who's this important. And here's the thing. Matthew Stafford just watched Dak Prescott get $60 million a year. And I know he's already made a lot of money, but so would Dak. And I don't know if we said the same thing about Dak. Should he take less money? Stafford is a better player. I think most teams would rather have Stafford than Dak Prescott. And that's just like what the market is now for these over 30 quarterbacks. And I think the Rams are going to get bitten here, and here's why. I think you're going to have teams who are willing to pay a lot for a short-term deal for Stafford. You're talking about that $52 million, $55, maybe it's $60. I think you have desperate teams who need to do something to raise their floor and their ceiling simultaneously because either guys are feeling on the hot seat, antsy, ownership getting a little antsy. And I think there's a lot of teams that are out there that are like that. So if the Rams think that Stafford and his agent are going to go out to the NFL and it's going to be crickets and a lot of closed doors in their faces, I think they are in for a rude awakening. And is it a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is it a team like the New York Giants? We can go through the possible landing spots, but I think there's going to be many of them.
Yeah, first of all, the Rams are asking for a lot for Stafford, so they might get a first-round pick. So I don't know if bitten is the right word. They might, can you imagine if the Giants gave them, I don't know, I assume it's next year's first-round pick for Matthew Stafford? That could be a top 10 pick easily, which is incredible value in the NFL. I think the Rams would do that in a heartbeat, but I don't think that's going to happen. Because I do disagree with you. You mentioned the Raiders and the Giants. Why are they going to all of a sudden pay $55 million or Dak Prescott money for Matthew Stafford? Like, that makes no sense. Like, how does the timeline fit those teams for a 37-year-old quarterback? Like, when the Rams traded for Matthew Stafford from Detroit, they knew they had an older team that was ready to win. They had Aaron Donald, for God's sakes. I think Sean McVay knew he was the missing piece. Can the Giants or the Raiders possibly say that? Why would they pay over $55 million for an old quarterback?
No, I said Giants are the Steelers.
Oh, sorry, the Steelers. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. The Raiders, I agree with you. I don't think that situation can be microwaved. However, you did just hire a 73-year-old head coach.
True.
So, you know what I think about the Raiders. I think they're making a backdoor play here for Shedeur Sanders, and that Tom Brady and Deion are going to work their magic and kind of funnel Shedeur, to the Raiders. But no, I said the Steelers and the Giants.
Sorry,
the Giants, right. First of all, because they talk about an ownership group that was embarrassed last offseason. Mm-hmm. This couldn't have gone worse for the Giants.
Right.
And Manny, cover your ears. They let Saquon Barkley go, and he immediately goes and wins a championship and looks awesome in the process. They have fallen off so much in reputation from where they were. And I think the Giants would do a move like this and bring in Matthew Stafford to kind of steady everything. Well, unless they really fall in love with Shedeur. But I don't know if Shedeur is going to be there at 3. I'm just not sure that that's the obvious thing. So if Cam Ward is gone to the Tennessee Titans at 1, where are the Giants looking for a quarterback? And you can't just do the same dance. So I could see them being very desperate, and I could see the Steelers being desperate. I know that sounds very out of character for Pittsburgh, but let's be honest. Like, they've got a defense that's ready to win. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have Stafford than Rodgers. I don't know if they're going to be in on Sam Darnold, and I think maybe I'd rather have Stafford on a short-term deal than Darnold on a long-term deal.
Well, first of all, back to the Giants for one thing. Can you imagine, and I don't think it's going to happen, if they gave up next year's first-round pick for Matthew Stafford?
Idiots.
Not a first.
Well, that's what the Rams are very much saying. Like, the Rams, all the reports, the Rams.
Of course they are.
But the Rams, right. By the way, like, I don't know if the Rams do it for a second. Like, what they're on the brink of a Super Bowl. They played the Eagles to a standstill in the snow. Like, I don't know that they give them up for a second. Secondly, the Giants, what if they gave up the pick? I know you're saying they won't do it first, but what if they gave up the arch pick for Matthew Stafford? I mean, that's got to be, like, you think the Saquon mistake was bad? trading a high pick for Matthew Stafford and then paying him all this money and then not being good would be a disaster times 10. Listen, Saquon wasn't doing anything in New York this year. Everyone knows that. He got a $13 million a year deal in Philly. It's not anything like this Matthew Stafford situation. The quarterback is so much more elevated, touches the ball in every play, gets all the money. So I think that if they compound a mistake by making another mistake, that would be even worse. If I'm John Mara, the owner of the Giants, I say do not do this Stafford thing. Although you're right, they could do it for those very reasons, but that would be terrible thinking. And the Steelers, you're gonna pay all this money for a quarterback who has no receivers and an offensive coordinator who just wants to run the ball. Like, what are you doing there? That makes no sense to me either. That's such a waste of Matthew Stafford to bring him to Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, everyone knows that the Steelers have to add another weapon, right? Like, they can't just. I'm kind of assuming that they will actually add somebody. And maybe George Pickens is a little less salty if Matthew Stafford is getting him the ball. I have no idea. But they obviously, it's because their defense is so good. And I do think that the Pittsburgh offensive line could get better and better. Here's the thing about the Rams, though. It sounds a little delusional to me if you really think that you're getting a high first-round pick for Matthew Stafford. That, yes, he's going to be in demand. He's going to be coveted. People will want to pay him money. But as far as giving up draft capital, I think now you're over your skis if you're the Rams. Especially a high first, even a high second. I don't think you can do that. The money you can do. The money is money. You can mess that around and make that fit. The draft picks you cannot do.
Well,
high draft picks.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what did he get last time in the trade?
2 firsts.
2 firsts.
But that was, we're talking
3 years
about
ago. Yeah.
More than that. It wasn't 4?
Right. It was true. They won in 2021. So, 4 years. Yeah. I mean, listen, they're smart to ask for it. If you started off the segment by saying how great Matthew Stafford was. So maybe some team, otherwise, okay, say it's a second round pick. Why are the Rams? I still don't even totally understand why the Rams would do that. They're really close. I don't even understand why they're totally giving up on Cooper Kupp. I thought he was great when he was actually on the field. I don't totally understand the Rams thinking. You said something that really kind of piqued my interest. You said the Rams already won their Super Bowl. Maybe they're thinking long term where they're going to build this sort of, young Super Bowl contender. But it just feels so obvious to me that they should just hunker down and re-sign Matthew Stafford and go for it with the team they have. You think that he would give other teams respectability. He gives them respectability. So unless it's a first-round pick, I'm saying no way if I'm the Rams.
Well, I can only go by what the Rams seem to be doing here. And that is, last year, you mentioned it, they definitely were. Listen, last year I kind of understand it a little bit more. He was definitely dealt with more injuries last year. That I get. Looks like Stafford is relatively healthy this year. And you mentioned how good he was in the playoffs. If it's not snowing in Philadelphia, then they're probably going to the NFC Championship game.
Wow, let's not be ridiculous. Let's not be ridiculous. It says the Eagles fan.
But here's the thing. I think that the Rams are obviously content with ticking him off, making this contentious, making this a true negotiation. There's no hometown thank you for the memories. None of that is happening. He's not getting any of that hometown love.
Thank God. I mean, look at you. You reminded me of Eli Manning with the Giants, who got all that hometown love. Yes, this is what Bill Belichick would have done. I mean, the Patriots kicked Tom Brady out the door. So that didn't work out well, but maybe that's not my best example. But yeah, great franchises should be kind of hardcore. What I would like the Rams to do is be more like the Eagles, who just paid everybody somehow and fit everyone under the cap, and you never even hear about it. All of a sudden, they just deliver these big contracts. So I kind of agree with your sentiment. The Rams should have kept it more quiet instead of putting it out there that letting the agent negotiate a deal. That being said, I get it. This could be a really, really good team if they figure out how to fit Matthew Stafford in the cap and they build around him, because the young talent, Les Snead, the GM's been on fire. They could really build a great team here.
But who's their quarterback if it's not Stafford?
It's
Stafford. That's the other thing. Well, that's the other thing, though. It's who's behind? Oh, Rodgers? Bringing Aaron Rodgers?
That's the one thing. When you said that, my first thought was Rodgers, which is interesting.
Yeah, and Adam Schefter had that on his podcast last week that, it could be Aaron Rodgers who slides in. Listen, I would take Stafford over Rodgers. And the other part is very different guys. Very different guys. And I like in the Stafford household, it's Kelly who's got the podcast and who says all the, TMI things. With Rodgers, it's Rodgers. It's one thing when it's one level removed, like someone's wife, and you can just say, she's got her own opinions and those things will blow over. When it's Rodgers, do you really want to bring that into the organization? Because you cannot have an Aaron Rodgers conversation without talking about the other stuff that comes along with him. If it was just about the football, it's a lot easier. It's not just about the football.
Well, it's about the age, too. The reason you're moving on from Matthew Stafford is presumably because he's too old. He just turned 37. I mean, Rodgers, we're talking, 1 year at most here? So
he's also shown he's willing to take less, Rodgers.
Yeah. It's interesting to me. I wonder, too, if Sean McVay, this happened to Bill Belichick. Does he have the itch to see what he could do with a mobile quarterback? Shanahan did it with Trey Lance. Like these offensive, quote-unquote, geniuses sometimes wonder, I wonder what if my quarterback could actually move 3 feet. Matthew Stafford, I saw some sloths on my vacation last week in Costa Rica. That's Matthew Stafford. I wonder if McVay has a big ego, too. Is McVay wondering, hey, I pulled in Stafford. Can I pull in somebody else and win? Maybe he doesn't want to go Rodgers or Stafford at all. Maybe he wants to go young or mobile. I think his ego is part of this formula, too. And you said that they're playing hardball with him and risking offending Stafford. You don't do that unless you have Sean McVay at head coach. You're not doing that with Kevin Stefanski at head coach or Brian Dable. So I think do you think that McVay is saying, maybe I don't need Stafford?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's a great point. I think sometimes these really genius offensive coordinators can outthink themselves. Remember why Kyle Shanahan wanted to get Trey Lance, right?
Oh, yeah.
The reason why he wanted a running quarterback to run his system is he thought because there's so many of his former assistants who are sprinkled around the league that defenses were going to start catching up to them, right? And they had to go to a 2.0 version. We have to update our software here because we're going to be, prone to bugs or people are going to get to us. And it turned out that wasn't the case because Brock Purdy obviously got them within an eyelash of a Super Bowl, and he's not Mr. Michael Vick. So, yeah, I think sometimes maybe a guy like McVay would outthink themselves hey, I saw defenses do this or do that. And, if I don't change, then I'm going to be a dinosaur and this thing's going to be dead. I could see something like that. The problem is, who's that guy? Is that someone out of college? Is that someone who's on a roster somewhere? Because that's not Kirk Cousins. That's not Aaron Rodgers. You're talking about a totally different type of player.
Well, yeah. I mean, would it be their backup last year, Jimmy Garoppolo, just as a if McVay could win with Garoppolo, that would cement his Hall of Fame genius status. I mean, you say yikes, but Jimmy G is not the worst bridge quarterback while you're waiting for the next guy to come in. Carson Wentz, I have no idea. I think that would be a big leap for McVay to try and do it without Stafford because, again, we saw proof of concept that this offense worked last year. They were really, really good. So the whole thing is a bit something's gone awry here. I think you nailed it. The Rams are doing something they don't need to do here. It should have been quieter. You've actually convinced me, why offend Stafford? I'll bet at the end of the day they do get a deal done because I don't think they're going to get a first-round pick offer. But I'm curious what's happening right now in the Stafford household.
855-212-4227. I don't know, checking out schools in New York, real estate, something like that.
New York.
We'll see. Let us know what you think about Matthew Stafford.
Schools
Would you want him for your team?
What's that?
Schools are no good. Don't come here.
Yeah, that's called New Jersey, Maggie. It's a lot different. The Giants don't play anywhere near New York.
Schools in Jersey are bad too. Schools in Jersey are bad too. Don't come.
You don't want Stafford, Manny. You want who, Shedeur?
I'm good. Yeah, I'd rather go the young quarterback route or just kind of, throw the season away. And if you're really in love with Arch Manning, go ahead and tank and go get Arch Manning at the cost of Brian Dable and Joe Shane. I mean, that's the crux of the conversation. I don't think that they will do that. I would rather go get a young quarterback than saddle myself with a 37-year-old quarterback who, is a part of the short-term plan. And what's the short-term plan for the Giants? To continue to rebuild? It just doesn't make sense to me. He doesn't fit the timeline.
Man, I don't know. I don't think Malik Neighbors would say that. I don't know if Malik Neighbors wants to tank another year to get Arch Manning, which is a total crapshoot. You're going to have a lot of teams that may be tanking for Arch. And by the way, Arch could always go back another year and pull a Peyton Manning. I don't know if he would, but he could always pull a Peyton Manning.
Not with the Giants. I mean, Arch would have to go to the Giants, right? I mean, you're right. I mean, look at the teams that are going to be like you're right, though, Maggie, like the Saints. You don't think they're going to tank like crazy to get Arch Manning?
New Orleans, kid right there as well.
Hometown guy, they'd probably love it. 855-212-4227. All right, talking a little about Matthew Stafford there and some of the quarterback musical chairs. Perloff is back from vacation. He was in Costa Rica. I kept telling people, Pearl, that you were on a zip line somewhere. That's all I could come up with.
Yes.
Apparently, he was also caressing sloths.
I was hanging out with sloths. I was on a zip line, which asked me what I saw. I saw the inside of my eyelids because my eyes were closed the entire time.
Just like, what are those screams? Is that some kind of like animal in the jungle? It's like, no, that's Andrew Perloff.
Yeah, it was.
Like, is that some animal in mating season? Like, no, that's just a very scared American tourist.
Zip line is something everyone does in Costa Rica. We had an issue. There was a problem, not a death-defying problem, but there was somebody on the trip tried to get out of it the last second.
Oh no.
All right. Well, hold on to that. We'll get into that in a moment.
I wonder if it was the guy who was speaking.
You have to hold on to find out, Manny.
That's a team.
And also, while Perloff was hanging out in paradise, he was closely monitoring the show and had a lot of issues with what we said last week.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get back into one more thing that Perloff had an issue with. Well, he's supposed to be relaxing on vacation, but meanwhile, getting all riled up watching the show from afar. 855-212-4227. It's the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. So I was in Costa Rica last week on a well-earned vacation, I must say, post-Super Bowl. It was a little annoying not to be able to brag about the Eagles to anyone. I saw one dude on a tour who was wearing a Chiefs shirt, and he just looked at me and said, respect, because I was wearing an Eagles hat the whole time, trying to start conversations about the Super Bowl. Maggie, you would have been so annoyed with me. I was bragging left and right. But there was a couple issues with my trip to Costa Rica.
Okay, what happened?
So Costa Rica is this beautiful country. They have a couple of attractions that were problematic for me. One was something called hanging bridges. You guys know what these are?
Sounds terrifying.
No.
I'm out.
Yeah,
Aren't all bridges hanging?
Well,
That's an
no,
incredibly good point.
no, not at all. No, all bridges are not hanging. This is in the middle of the mountains. It's like something out of Indiana Jones. Like, if you've been on the George Washington Bridge, it's basically centered in the river. Like, that's not a hanging bridge.
Okay.
This is a rope bridge that is a mile above the ground.
Looks very Jumanji-like.
Yes, it's yeah. That's Indiana Jones for the old people, Jumanji for the young people. Which, by the way,
Jumanji, yeah, sure.
Jumanji is one of my favorite. The the Kevin Hart Jumanjis all time. Anyway, it's miles above the ground. I didn't even go on the trip. I stayed at the hotel and got on the internet and read some of the bad takes you guys were throwing around last week. So, good bad takes.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Perloff.
Yeah.
But your family went on
My
the hanging
family
bridge.
went on the hanging bridges. Would you guys go on this hanging bridges trip? So it's like a rope bridge that is shaky a mile above the ground.
Is it okay? I have a question. Is it like those individual slats of where your leg could fall in between? Yeah, that's probably a no for me.
I need to know the stats before going on it.
It's
There's
hitting
no
200, buddy. 200 with 3 home runs. What do you mean you need a stat?
Costa Rica is a tourist country. They're not giving out any stats about how many people fall off. It's impossible to find.
And how many people dying would you be okay with? Like, what's your threshold?
Over 2.5.
10 is fine. 30, no way. Alex is out at 30. Man, listen, here's the thing, though. They're not going to do something like that if it's not safe. These countries like Costa Rica and others that tourism is like their number one thing, I have to imagine. So you can't mess with the tourists. You can't be killing them on these bridges.
100% right.
Oh, is that right?
So Maggie's right about that. Like, they are very safe. The other thing that people do in Costa Rica, it's called zip lining, where you basically hold a harness and you fly down a mountain on a wire. And I've done it multiple times, believe it or not, and I'm a wimp. I did it when I was in Costa Rica, I think in 2006 or something. I went on a trip. So I was like, oh, I'm the vet. I can do this. We get up on this mountain, and I swear to God, it was like no zip line I've ever seen. We're basically like, okay, you're going to jump off this bridge, off this platform, and go into a cloud that is 75 miles above. Like, you don't even know where you're going. So I was terrified. We were all terrified. Unfortunately, my daughter was especially terrified.
Oh, no.
So it gets up to her, and she's like, I'm not doing this. I'm like, you're harnessed in. There's no other way to get down this mountain except the zip line. And they actually take her out of line. They're like, you have to go now because of weight. And they pull her in, and she gets up there, and she goes, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this. She starts screaming, I don't want to do this. And then, whoo, down the mountain, all I hear is, I don't want to do this. Okay. I felt so awful. There's nothing you could do. There's no other way to get down the mountain. But then,
wait, you can't back out? You can't just go back down the ladder or something like that?
You probably could, but it's not designed that way.
Not in the Perloff way.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, oh, that wasn't good. That went worse than I thought it could have. I go next. I do the zip line. My eyes are closed. It's fine. It's perfectly safe. They do a great job on safety. And I get there, and I'm like, oh, poor Emma's going to be so freaked out. She gets there, and she's like, all right, I'm ready for the next one. It totally, did the first one. She's like, psyched. She's like, I hope the next one's even faster and longer. I'm like, you're crazy. These 12-year-old kids are out of their minds. Like, they're terrified. So she immediately adjusted. There were so many ways to die on this trip. There was surfing with sharks. Of course, I didn't surf either because I'm a terrible surfer.
That's the name of Perloff's book.
With sharks.
That's the name of Perloff's book. There were so many ways to die in this trip.
Yeah. Costa Rica. My in-laws.
100 ways to die in Costa Rica.
Yeah, then there was I was at this beach town. Okay, I'm like at the beach town. There's sharks, but what can happen to me? And I asked the front desk, I'm like, I like to jog. I'm a runner. Where can I go for a run? They're like, oh, here's where you go. They show me a map, and they go down here, and then they go, and then you can turn right here and go further. Just whatever you do, don't step in the water. I'm like, what do you mean don't step in the water? They're like, yeah, that's where the crocodiles live. I'm like, what is going on? How do you get a break in this country? How does anyone survive? She's like, no, don't go there.
Also, we were just at the alligator farm in New Orleans, and we learned the difference between alligators and crocodiles, and the crocodiles are the ones that will eat you, and the alligators actually will not.
Maggie, I was thinking about that exact conversation. We went to that alligator farm, and the alligators were roaming around, and you could hug them. The crocodiles were like Hannibal Lecter. They had these masks on.
Grates?
Yeah. They were like, don't let that crocodile out. He'll kill everything in sight. I'm like, great, there's crocodiles swimming around here. What, there's poisonous snakes everywhere, by the way. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty bright yellow snake. Yeah, don't step within 5 feet of that thing. I'm like, oh, my God. I don't even know what else. But by the way.
Perloff, that photo of that snake that you put on your Instagram, and it's just at Andrew Perloff, you put just some wildlife from Costa Rica. I don't know how you got that photo of that yellow snake. By the way, it looks like National Geographic took that photo. That snake is staring into your soul.
Okay. By the way, that snake is about 3 inches long. The guide on the trip did something with my iPhone. I didn't take the photo. He said, give me your iPhone. And he took this photo that looks right out of National Geographic. He changed all the settings. Maggie, you would have laughed because most of us take pictures, just point the iPhone at it. He changed everything. So I have all this nature photo. People thought I probably cut and pasted from the internet. That was my phone, I want to be clear. But it looked amazing. These photos were great, but also the frogs are super poisonous too. So there's a fine line between, will this frog get me high if I lick it, or will it kill me?
And there's only one way to find out.
No, trust me, I was fascinated. I'm like,
Emma, take this frog.
Yeah, I'm like, do you have an antidote for poisonous frogs? Or
I think that's actually how Aaron Rodgers spends his time in Costa Rica as well, just licking frogs, trying to get high.
Oh yeah. I didn't even think about that. I probably could have gotten some ayahuasca here, too. I mean, this country has it all. They call it 900 Ways to Die. And by the way, it's a perfectly safe country. I don't want to say anything bad about Costa Rica. Just, the crocodiles, the snakes, the hanging bridges, the zip lines. It was terrifying. I was so relieved to get done with this. Horseback riding. One person on the horseback riding got kicked by a horse. It was.
Oh, my gosh. That's dangerous.
Oh, yeah. It was very brave of me to do this trip with my 83-year-old father-in-law who handled everything fine.
That's unreal. This does not sound relaxing, dude. It
was awesome. It was totally cool. Yeah, I mean, at the end, we hung out at the beach, but that's how, it's funny, I married into a family that likes to adventure travel. We would kayak with alligators, and I don't like it. I want to just go to Cancun and relax. Maggie, I know you're more of a beach vacation, right?
Yeah, I don't want to encounter any reptiles of any kind. And that's pretty amazing, though, that you got to explore all this different stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about you running through the jungle, Perloff like in the hokas, and all of a sudden you step and here comes a crocodile just like chomping after you after we just went to New Orleans. And you're right, those crocodiles were being treated like Hannibal Lecter. They were like in bathtubs with like fences on top of them. I don't even know how to describe it.
I thought they were alligators.
No, the alligators can roam free, like Perloff said. You can snuggle up to an alligator. It's the crocodiles that they keep in like like max protection, like they're in the hole.
Yeah, that, by the way,
like prison terms.
That did not look very nice. The way they held the crocodiles was probably about 3 different violations. And by the way, most alligators are not to be approached either. They train these alligators like dogs.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
but they are just different species. Yeah, it was like the maximum security and the minimum security prison, if that's how you want to like delineate these things. The alligators had done some white collar crime. The crocodiles had really gone manslaughter, something bad.
Yeah, I mean, Costa Rica, basically, we know where Avatar, the movie, came from. It's from James Cameron, the director, went on a vacation to Costa Rica where everything can kill you. It's beautiful, but everything can kill you. That's Avatar. So basically, I was a giant blue guy running around this country.
I'm a giant white guy.
I'm blue. With
your short shorts on.
Avatar. I meant Avatar.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I was the palest person in all of an entire country. Like there were 6 million people there, and I was number 1 most pale person, which pretty proud of.
Yeah, that's a streak you have continued for most of your adult life.
No, Maggie. When I was in Finland, I was
Cal
average.
Ripken of bland.
Remember when I was my 2011 stopover in Finland? I was normal. And you take me to Scandinavia, they all look like me.
In Scandinavia, this guy looks like Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
What island are you from, sir?
Yeah. My mom's Norwegian.
Perloff is exotic.
By the way, when you say look like Sammy Sosa, that's quite confusing. Which Sammy Sosa?
2001 Sammy.
Am I looking like the pale Sammy Sosa or the old
original
Sammy
Sosa?
Yeah,
Sammy Sosa.
That was the worst analogy. Like, what does that mean?
No. Sammy Sosa goes to his doctor and is like, give me the Perloff.
Yeah.
Who's your inspiration? Like, have you heard of McLovin?
Yeah. Well,
Kevin O'Connell's favorite Danette.
Whoa. I never said that.
I thought he said that.
That was off camera, Maggie. I told you not to say anything about that.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Bogusch, save us. No,
that's the second time it's been mentioned on the show. That's not new news.
I didn't say it, though.
Somebody else did.
Seaton's not going to like that, Maggie.
Oh, no. And he'll definitely let me know about it. No, Pearl, we're so glad that everyone made it back safe and sound, particularly you and your young daughters, your wife, 83-year-old father-in-law, the fact that you guys all survived Costa Rica. Phew.
Yeah, I mean, we should do a remote show there just so you guys can know what I'm talking about. We'll do the show from a hanging bridge, just terrified the entire time. Anyway, yeah, so...
We can barely get the closet in New Jersey hooked up. I don't know if we're Costa Rica bound.
I gotta tell you, the Wi-Fi is really good there. It is, but
better than what Maggie has.
Clearly,
it's an amazing place. Like every hotel is gorgeous. It's a really, really nice place. I highly recommend it.
How about Kevin in the chat? YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet. Perloff is the new Indiana Jones 2.0.
Yeah. I am basically. I don't know if anyone saw the last Indiana Jones where Harrison Ford's in his 70s and he's sort of walking around instead of running. He's like walking briskly to get away from the giant rolling rock. That's me in Costa Rica.
He's got his orthopedic shoes trying to dodge Nazis.
Watch out, guys. Here comes Delco Jones.
Delco Jones is actually an NBA official who was on the take. Delco, meaning Delaware County, Pennsylvania, where every official's from. Delco Jones was in the Donaghy scandal.
He was on the other end.
Yes.
He was on the other end of the phone call. Delco Jones was placing the bets.
Yeah. That's a little inside. I don't know. All right, we are so far off track right now. How we got from my Costa Rica trip to Tim Donaghy, amazing.
Oh my God, there's so much good stuff in the chat. Daly saying Perloff use SPF 4000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He would if he could. Okay, Bogusch, what do you have for us?
You guys tell me. This feels like an odd anniversary to celebrate.
Today is the 40th anniversary of Bobby Knight picking up his chair and throwing it across the floor in a game against Purdue. Knight tossed, famous chair, has lived in folklore, and Mike Woodson told us before the game that he believes this is the chair. And on the 40th anniversary, Mike Woodson said to honor his former coach, he's going to sit in that chair and not throw it today.
That's Andrew Catalon on CBS yesterday afternoon. He was talking over video of an Indiana manager bringing that infamous chair to the Hoosiers sideline. This was borderline assault and battery 40 years ago. Why are we all yucking it up now?
Well, the chair was okay. It was hitting the guy that was problematic.
Right. I mean, he threw it in between two officials out of anger with them. Why is this a thing to have an anniversary over?
Well, I think that was super cool. I did not like assaulting the player, but throwing the chair was awesome. No?
It went skidding across the court.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a work of art.
So should guys throw chairs now?
Yes.
Okay.
The Bobby Knight, when he got into the players, was awful. I mean, nobody likes that. But throwing the chair was super cool.
But they're all in the same category. He was a madman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a maniac. I'm glad it wasn't the anniversary of him hitting the player. That would not have been good to celebrate on the broadcast. But it did inspire Nick Nolte's character in Blue Chips, right? Doesn't he also throw the chair in that movie?
Yes.
As a send-up to Bob Knight? That's a fair question, Bogusch. I think we should put on the poll. Do you celebrate or do you honor the anniversary of Bob Knight throwing a projectile across the court? I mean, it is pretty immature behavior, but it did, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's part of his lore.
And the anniversary celebration worked yesterday because Indiana beat number 13 Purdue 73-58. On the women's side, top-ranked Notre Dame lost a thriller at number 13 NC State 104-95 in overtime. Zoe Brooks 33 points and 10 boards for the Wolfpack. In the NBA, the Cavaliers still red hot.
Lob left side to Strus in the corner to Mobley. Mobley in the middle to Allen Powell! And a foul to go with it! Jared Allen off a beautiful feed with the thunderous dunk.
That's Tim Alcorn on Cavs Radio. Allen put in the finishing touches on a 129 decision over the Grizzlies. That's 7 wins in a row for Cleveland. And as you guys already mentioned this morning, Shedeur Sanders not expected to work out at the scouting combine, which begins this week in Indy. We should see him throw at Colorado's Pro Day next month. Pearl, back to you.
I'm watching the chair throw again.
To you.
It's so satisfying. The way the chair just skids perfectly. Now, okay, I'm not for abusive behavior, but there's something about it. I don't know. I just enjoy watching that. And then he went on Letterman and joked about it. The thing is, Bobby Knight did worse things, right, Maggie?
Well, yeah. I mean, what he did to his player was definitely worse. You can't choke a kid. That definitely got him fired. You know what's funny in the chat? Daly's asking, they still have the chair. I actually think that's kind of funny, too.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, in the back somewhere. Like, what do you do with things that are kind of infamous? You know, you're not going to put in, like, the Naismith Hall of Fame. I doubt they would do something like that. You might not put it in your school's Hall of Fame. What do you do with the chair? Because Mike Woodson sat in it. That's kind of funny.
But he doesn't usually sit on it. Like, it's not that chair is not there all the time.
No. They've been keeping it somewhere. And, like, I have less of a problem with them keeping the chair.
Okay.
Even if the chair is on display, like, in wherever, like, trophy hallway they have, I wouldn't care about that. But, like, I don't know. It just felt like a weird thing to make a big deal of yesterday.
Well, I'm looking at it now. So they pull it in, and it's next to the normal chairs, which have 7 sponsors on them. What Nerd Wallet? So thank God, like that's better. But you guys remember like the umpire who pretended the base was a grenade? Like I think like Bobby Knight, if he wasn't Bobby Knight, when coaches throw stuff, it's awesome. No, I'm the only one who doesn't like to see a coach go ballistic on officials.
That guy threw the base like into a safe place, not at an umpire. Bob Knight was throwing this at people and was lucky it didn't hit somebody.
But it skidded perfectly, like when you skip a stone over a lake. It just went into the crowd.
You want to give him credit for being a skilled chair thrower. And he knew where it was going, then so be it.
Considering Bobby Knight's history, we're lucky that he didn't go WWE style and hit someone over the back of the head with the chair. Like, he was a pretty, got pretty, I don't know, it's like immature behavior, but it also is sort of the folklore of the sport.
Well, yeah, and also, too, he's one of the greatest coaches, combined with the fact that he was such a successful coach makes it a little different.
That's true.
If he was just some rando who was doing this stuff, it'd be bad.
Yeah, that's interesting. Bogusch, thanks so much. 855-212-4227. Do you celebrate the anniversary of a coach behaving badly, like Bobby Knight when he threw a chair across the gym floor 40 years ago, which is pretty crazy. All right, coming up, lots more to do, including we got to get into this because somebody is facing some super long odds here, and they're not going to like what we have to say next. 855-212-4227. It's the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie and Perloff show. Perloff is back from his vacation, but unfortunately, I got sick over the weekend. So I'm in my home studio in New Jersey so I don't infect anyone else. Perloff is back, though. He's at headquarters along with Manny and Alex and Bogusch today. So, Pearl, we just heard last segment, Andrew Bogusch brought us the story that it was the 40th anniversary of Bob Knight throwing a chair across the gymnasium floor. And it turns out Indiana men's basketball has kept the chair. And Mike Woodson sat in the chair yesterday, and they ended up winning against Purdue. Now, a couple of things. One, do you think something like that should be celebrated? 855-212-4227. Because let's be honest, it's kind of immature, childish behavior to throw a chair because you're that incensed by the referees. Very Real Housewives-esque, kind of whole, temper tantrum. And that was sort of the Bob Knight experience.
No, I don't agree. By the way, that's your
You
take.
don't agree?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's my take.
I think that you got to come after officials. That's like the main job of a basketball coach. And I think Bobby Knight's theatrics had a purpose. Like, I don't think he was just being dramatic. He definitely pushed it too far. But no, I disagree a little bit. Like, that's Bobby Knight intimidated a lot of officials over the years and won a lot of games doing that.
Well, I think he intimidated everybody.
Yeah, that was his style.
But I don't think it was an act. Like, I don't think that he was really some softy, behind the scenes, or that he was doing it to try to have like a means to an end. I think he was an angry guy who was an all-time great coach, so don't get me wrong about that. Super successful. Tom Izzo just passed his all-time wins in the Big Ten, what was it, last week, I think?
Wow.
And Tom Izzo's been doing this for 30 years. But yeah, Knight's an all-time great coach, but no, it wasn't an act. I think this is actually who he was, and he definitely crossed the line so many times. Now, I'm not saying you erase that person out of history, and Bobby Knight hasn't been erased from history at all. But to celebrate the throwing the chair across the floor does feel a little bit crazy. And furthermore, Indiana men's basketball in some ways has kind of become a little bit unrecognizable. And Mike Woodson is going to be out at the end of the year, so they're going to be looking for yet another head coach. Now, Tom Crean did take them to a Sweet 16, so I don't want to say like it's been all bad over the last 25 years or so. But if we're talking about teams that have just fallen off and their reputation no longer matches what we always thought about a program, Indiana men's basketball might be one of the poster children for this, a team that was always synonymous with winning and excellence that has really fallen on hard times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Indiana, this happens when coaches retire. First of all, one thing about his style, like the general, right?
Yep.
I think there was more purpose to this than you do. Like, and listen, the general I think they were comparing to like Patton, who was a tyrant, obviously. But guess what? Patton won World War II. So I'm just saying, like, that style is definitely.
Perloff, this is a basketball game, not a world war. It's not the Nazis. They're playing Purdue.
But it's Bob Knight. He's the general. Like, that was the analogy. That's how he approached it. And that's why I think other coaches, including Mike Woodson, worship Bobby Knight. Like, people, and Coach K is basically a refined version of Bobby Knight, and Coach K with his military background, like, they treat it like a military operation, and they took pride in that. And the anger got way too far, but I think that anger was, not only was it successful, like, I think once that left, like Indiana, you're right, they lost their mojo for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they did get to a national championship game in 2001, 2002. So I don't want to say it's been all bad. And again, a Sweet 16 with Tom Crean, but not nearly the winning we used to associate Indiana basketball with. And they're not the only program that's fallen off. Do we look at Nebraska football the same way? And I know Dylan Raiola and Matt Rule, have made it a little more exciting. We were talking about this earlier. The New York Giants have the longest odds to win the Super Bowl next year. What happened to the Giants? I mean, this was a team that, even if they didn't win all the time, they were respected. They were thought of as one of the, they were associated with winning, right? It felt like this is a team that could be dangerous at any time. And now it's been at least a decade since anyone's thought that about the Giants. Some of these programs are kind of living in reputation only, and I think Indiana basketball is one. Nebraska football has a lot of work to do. The Giants clearly have a lot of work to do. It's been hard times.
Yeah, Florida State football, I know they had one good year. I think
they went undefeated 2 years ago.
I don't want to say it, but there's another coach who retired whose program might become the next one in this list. And he's down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So when a giant coach retires, Maggie, it's hard. It's hard to come back.
Coming up, let us know what you think. Should we be celebrating Bob Knight throwing a chair?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
What does the future hold for Shedeur Sanders? Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff back from his week away in Costa Rica, which sounds like it was pretty harrowing, actually. Unfortunately, I'm under the weather, so I'm in the New Jersey studios today. Perloff's at headquarters in New York. We're so glad to have you. And Perloff, we'll get back into your Costa Rica trip in a minute, but Shedeur Sanders. So a little bit of news came out yesterday. He is not going to be throwing at the Combine, which gets underway this week in Indianapolis. And to be honest, I don't really care about that. You know, a lot of guys have not been throwing at the Combine. But what's going to happen now in this draft process is we are maybe going to get, I don't want to say further away from Shedeur as Deion's son, and we're going to really start diving into the tape of what we saw in Colorado and projecting on whether or not he can work in the NFL. And, you know, the thing about Shedeur, like a lot of these quarterbacks who go high in the draft, they're not going to very good teams. So I worry a bit for Shedeur that he could be going as high as 3 or even 2 to Cleveland, 3 to the New York Giants. Maybe it's 6, 7. He's probably going to be a top 10 pick. But I don't know if he's a top 10 talent. And quarterbacks get pushed to the top here because this draft process works for them and teams are so desperate. But let's look at what Shedeur was able to do at Colorado and some of the things that he was dealing with. And I don't know if he projects to be this franchise savior, which is what he's going to be billed as.
I'm not sure I understand why. He had a terrible line at Colorado, and he made them into an explosive offense. So he's going to presumably go to a team with a bad line like the New York Giants or the Raiders. Cleveland could have actually a really good O-line if everyone was healthy, but he's used to that. Like, you look at the tape, and he's under pressure all the time, and yet he had a knack for turning really, really what should have been bad plays into either throwaways or decent plays. Like, if I'm looking at Shedeur Sanders, I'm like, wow, he's already been under the crucible of a bad O-line. I think he can handle this. I think Cam Moore, by the way, was very similar to Shedeur. Like, he would hold on the ball and try and make plays. Shedeur does hold on to the ball, but he was forced to make plays at Colorado because they were bad at exactly what you're talking about. They were basically the New York Giants of college football. They had no O-line.
Okay, but what's the big difference when you step up in weight class between any college conference, even the SEC and the Big Ten, and then you get to the NFL? You know, the type of pressure that's going to be bearing down on you is going to be a lot faster. Like everyone says, that's the biggest change from college to the pros is just the speed of both the offense and the defense. And some things that Shedeur may have been able to get away with in college, he's not going to be able to get away with in the NFL. And so let's play a little bit of sound from someone who you and I both respect immensely. And it is a talent evaluator by the name of Greg Cosell. And he was on Ross Tucker's podcast, and he was talking about Shedeur Sanders, and here's some of the limitations he sees from Shedeur, particularly behind what was a leaky offensive line.
And he was under a lot of pressure. There were a lot of plays where he had no chance, 0 chance. But what he does have a tendency to do, and this also has to be cleaned up, is retreat backwards. and you know this is an offensive lineman. You can't retreat backwards in the NFL.
Okay, so that was one opinion from Greg Cosell. Again, not a mock drafter, not a hot taker, just a guy who's watching the film. And I ask you if this is somebody who you think could be a generational talent, which is, not, is kind of what comes with the territory if you're drafted very high. Here's more from Greg Cosell, and here's the comp that he has for who Shedeur most reminds him of.
The player, I've talked to some scouts, the name that often comes up as a comparison for him is Geno Smith. And Geno Smith is a little bit bigger with a better overall arm, but he's probably that kind of quarterback.
Okay, Perloff, that Geno Smith has had an all-time renaissance in his career, and we think about Geno very differently now after the Seattle stint than we did after the New York Jets and the New York Giants. And I think he played for San Diego for a minute, too. I mean, it took Geno a little bit to find his footing in the NFL. If we're going to put a comp at Geno Smith, then you cannot expect Shedeur Sanders to come into the NFL and all of a sudden be gangbusters and be the next Jaden Daniels or be the next C.J. Stroud.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Geno Smith was 2013, right? That was 12 years ago. I think Geno Smith would be a first-round pick now for sure. I mean, Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy were just first-round picks, and Geno threw 45 touchdowns his last year at West Virginia. So I think times have changed. Like you gotta get the quarterback now because of the salary cap. It's a different NFL a little bit. So I don't think he falls the second round. I mean, that was true back then, but it's really true now. Secondly, like Shedeur is nothing like him. Greg is a big tape guy. On tape, he might look like Geno, and I get the physical comparisons. Shedeur Sanders and Geno Smith could not be more opposite personalities. Geno Smith came in the NFL and was definitely had mixed reviews as a leader and a teammate. Part of it was because he was at a dysfunctional Jets locker room. But Shedeur is larger than life. I mean, Shedeur is the man. Guy drives the fancy car, has his own podcast. Shedeur is an alpha. He's a true leader. So you're going to get that. Now, Greg Cosell doesn't do much on that. And also, too, the thing about him moving backwards in the pocket, I saw this stat on Pro Football Focus. He was under 20% more pressure than any quarterback in college football. So he's right. He was under pressure. And he had one of the best turnover-worthy play percentages of any quarterback. So most quarterbacks under pressure immediately throw the ball away. Shedeur never throws interceptions or rarely throws interceptions. So you're right. The pass rushers get faster in the NFL, but you got to compare it to something. They get faster for every quarterback. For Cam Ward, too. You think Cam Ward can do all the things he did in college? So I just think that you're looking at the things that Shedeur did well in those situations do translate. He avoids turnovers. He's incredibly accurate. People say he doesn't have an explosive arm, but I saw him throw a lot of bombs. His receivers were good at Colorado. I'll give you that. So I think a lot of things that he does will translate really well to the NFL. He's just he seems like he could run a West Coast, if he can get coached to get rid of the ball a little faster, he's got all the tools to be a really accurate passer, which to me is, still one of the most important things an NFL quarterback can do. And I think like CJ Stroud, he'll run more in the pros because he's not fast. He's nothing like his dad, but he can get away from pressure. I think that some of those negatives that Greg and you were mentioning are just a little overstated.
Well, I don't know. We're going to see. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders, so not going to be throwing at the combine. Another update, not going to be going to the draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is where the draft is this year. Not going to go. Going to do a party somewhere, doing his own thing. Again, we've seen this a lot lately with guys. But I was wondering, is he possibly doing the party also because he's not sure? They're talking really big right now about where Shedeur is going to get drafted. But again, let's go through the whole process. And if Greg is saying, scouts are saying the comp is Geno Smith, well, I disagree with you. I don't think Geno Smith is going third overall, even back in 2013. And that was a weak quarterback draft. I'll raise my hand. You guys can see all the Buffalo Bills stuff behind me. That was the E.J. Manuel draft. And, it's not like Geno fell because they were all Andrew Luck was in front of him and, RG3 and all that. It wasn't that draft. It was a very weak QB draft. And so I guess here's where I kind of want to, I'm not trying to be negative on Shedeur. What I'm saying is I think that the hype around Shedeur is going to get so out of control when that doesn't really match who the guy is, right? That may not match not only his skill set, but he might not be warranting that level of hype. But his last name and his celebrity and fame, I think has taken him to a totally different level where his game is actually a little bit more, I'm not saying average, but not top 3 worthy potentially. And so you go to the wrong place. You go to the New York Giants, you go to the Cleveland Browns, you go to one of these franchises where everyone is jonesing for a savior. And if you're looking for Shedeur to be that guy, I think you're going to be really disappointed.
Yeah, I feel like something's going on with the NFL quarterbacks where guys like Gino. Now you have me calling him Gino. Shedeur are kind of doing well. Like an older quarterback coming to the NFL, if he can get to a good offensive coach like a Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, I just like watch Shedeur play. Like the ball comes out really well out of his hand. Like, and again, if I'm doing a draft again, I know that Gino can throw for 4,000 yards and 32 touchdowns. Like, I don't think that's the worst player comp. I'm taking Geno Smith if I'm Cleveland right now. Number 2's a little rich, but yeah, I think the way that you draft quarterbacks now, even with what you're saying, Maggie, which I understand, he's certainly not Justin Herbert coming out of Oregon, even though he had his question marks too. I see he's not overly physical and he doesn't like pop off the screen, but still, like he just showed that he could be a good, accurate passer. Like Bo Nix, for example, last year. Like Bo Nix was a good, accurate passer, last year at Oregon, 2 years ago at Oregon. And with the right coach, he came in and said he could get it done in the NFL. So Shedeur is not going to lift a franchise single-handedly, like you mentioned that these teams want. But you get him with the right coach and the right wide receivers, like he's going to be a productive NFL quarterback. And I think you can't know nowadays, if you think a guy's going to be productive, there's no way you let him fall the second round. That's just never happening in today's NFL. In fact, you're willing to go up for a Zach Wilson or a Trey Lance. That I think teams are going to be like, if you told me, he's going to be Geno Smith now, I think a lot of teams would take him top 10. I mean, Geno Smith is very productive.
Yeah, 10 years into his career when he finally figured some stuff out. But here's the thing. I'm talking about, I think, the expectations. And that's where I think you and I disagree. I think that the expectations on Shedeur are massive. And I think, it's the outside world that's doing a little of it. And I think it's the Sanders family that's doing a little of it. Deion has never been shy about saying he wants Shedeur to go number 1 overall. I think maybe that ship has sailed. But they want him to go as high as possible. They want to have manipulate where he goes potentially, if they don't like, what they're seeing. It's going to be a lot of fuss over Shedeur is what I'm saying.
But how much fuss is it? But Maggie, how much fuss has there been about Cam Ward getting to number 1 in every single mock draft? Like no one's made a huge deal out of that. It sort of happened naturally.
No, I get it, but we're very at the beginning of this thing. I think there's just going to be a lot of fuss being made potentially over Shedeur because Deion has said he will step in. So what do? You put even more of a bullseye on the kid, even more of a spotlight on the kid. Let's see if the Manning family tried to pull what they did with Eli Manning in 2004. Let's try that in 2025 and see how different it is. And, Eli didn't have the outsized personality that Shedeur does. He wasn't out there with his own podcast. That wasn't a thing back then. So, I think there's just a lot of reasons and a lot of, factors that could end up working against Shedeur, where he comes in with massive expectations when he's actually not that guy, and he goes to a team that's asking him to be the savior, and he's not capable of doing it. And then where are we, right? Can I play you another clip from Greg Cosell? So Greg Cosell, great talent evaluator, not a hot taker, looking at Shedeur's film, and he said that Shedeur is a piece of the offense, but not the whole offense.
You're talking about a shorter quarterback who's a pocket player. So to me, he's a ball distributor and an executor of an offense. He needs the system to work for him. He needs a run game. He needs a good O-line. He's a piece. He's a piece of an offense.
Right. So this is the piece of the offense, not the guy who's going to come in and all of a sudden be the one who elevates the offense.
Right. Like Bo Nix last year with Sean Payton in Denver. That's the thing. I think you and I disagree about how high a guy like that should go. That's the best you can ask for. Who is not a piece of the offense? There's no, in this year's draft, Cam Ward is not a huge guy either. I mean, Shedeur is probably a little smaller, but there's no Jaden Daniels or Drake May in this draft. And I don't know if there's one coming up. So I think you got to get this. Like, let's talk about like a Drew Brees type. Like, I'm sorry, in today's draft world, like you got to take that guy top 10. Just because he's a piece, it's not as big a negative, I think. With the right system, listen, we look at these spots and you have to squint, but you can see, the coaches and the wide receivers that are available in the top 10, like a piece quarterback, let's say it, a system quarterback could do well. And the other thing about it, I think Shedeur is a little better than a system quarterback. I don't think he is John Wolford here. I think he can sling it. I mean, the guy, you watch him throw the ball, he throws a beautiful pass, and his arm's just going to get stronger when he gets in the NFL, just like every other quarterback. Now I'm hearing like undertones of Andy Dalton here, the way that Greg Cosell is describing him. But hey, you know what? Andy Dalton got to a lot of playoff games. So I think if you're the Raiders and he does fall to 6, very reasonable, especially the way we're talking about him now. Hey, you know what? You got a very, very smart system quarterback at number 5, build around that guy. I'm okay with that. I know he is not Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I'm okay with everything that Greg described.
And taking him that high. 855-212-4227. All right, let us know what you think about Shedeur Sanders. And, listen, we don't know where he's going to go yet. So that obviously is a big piece of the puzzle. But is he being set up to be this generational talent, this top 5, top 3 pick, when maybe that doesn't match the player that he actually is? Again, 855-212-4227. So glad that Perloff is back from vacation in Costa Rica. Well-deserved, my friend. It just doesn't sound like it was all that relaxing, but you deserve some time away.
It was death-defying. I couldn't wait to land in New York and just sort of I unpack all these disgusting clothes because I was in the jungle. It was crazy. I was basically Indiana Jones for a week.
In your mind?
No. I have photos just doing death-defying thing after death-defying thing. There were some hikes, Maggie, that were really uncomfortable. I mean, I had a blister on my right foot. There was a lot going on. Yeah.
How did you survive?
I'll tell you one thing. The food, the fresh fruit, the smoothies. I ate like a king for a week.
Did you have any maracuya while you were over there?
I did not, to my knowledge.
What is that, Manny?
Passion fruit.
Oh, no, I didn't have passion fruit. They didn't have that, but there was just lots of papaya.
Yeah, of course.
Lots of papaya, lots of guava. There's this one fruit that I don't even know what it is, but it's got a gelatinous middle and seeds in the middle, and you scoop it out and eat it.
Is it dragon fruit?
It might be dragon fruit. I don't know.
Wait, dragon fruit is gelatinous in the inside? I don't think so.
I will look this up and I will have it. But there was a fruit that's...
Is it a lychee?
Nope. It looks more like a lychee. It's closer to a lychee, but it's not a lychee, and it's famous in Costa Rica. I will get that. I ate so much fruit. It's so good for you. I'm going to become a fruits and vegetable guy now, Maggie.
Now you're a fruit guy.
You always read that in diet stuff, like you got to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I'm thinking that's my new diet trend, although I don't know where we get those here in America, in the Northeast.
You don't have a guy now in Costa Rica that can send you this stuff just straight to your house?
Well, I mean, it is a real issue. Like, it's not the same when fruit comes from halfway across the world. I don't want to sound like RFK Jr. right now, but getting it.
They're going to bring up the tariffs.
Yeah, getting fruit from Hawaii.
One of those papayas is going to cost you $20.
Well, the thing is, too, they're not fresh because they've been traveling all over the world. I was literally, getting stuff that was
right off the tree.
Right off the tree. Manny, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, big time. I have in Mexico, my family has avocado trees and lime trees. So you just grab them from the tree and voila, let's eat.
You have an avocado tree? Oh,
yeah, in Mexico, yeah.
I would eat 10 avocados a day.
Oh, delicious.
Wait, you're telling me there's not dragon fruit trees in New York City? Blasphemy.
Listen, Perloff, you got to go to Spanish Harlem to go get some of these Costa Rican fruits that I Googled, it's gone now, like mamon chino, pitaya, guanábana.
Ooh, help me out here, Manny. What are those in English?
What are those?
So, mamon chino looks like it's what'd you say, a lychee?
Yeah, lychee.
I'm not familiar with that fruit. A pitaya is a type of dragon fruit that is locally grown in Costa Rica, and guanábana is soursop.
That's what it is.
There we go. Found it, guys.
Guanábana. Yeah. Give me
See,
a
these
big
sounds
bowl.
like things that would be great in a cocktail. I know you're trying to be healthy, Perloff, but you're asking me. It sounds like a pretty good mixer.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? That's like half of what people do in Costa Rica. They go death-defying things during the day, then they get drunk at night on fruit drinks. Also,
Yeah, well, you have to. You got to unwind after you just, basically were running with crocodiles. I'd need a drink after that, too.
have you ever had a golden berry? I didn't know this was a big thing. It's like a cherry. It's a combination of a cherry tomato and an actual cherry. It's unbelievable. I had a million of those.
You had a Peruvian ground cherry in Costa Rica?
I did? I don't know about that. Oh, I did have a star fruit. Yeah. Anyway, I will actually, I did get everybody a gift too.
Oh, is that right?
Well, sort of.
Really? That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great.
The hell you mean sorta?
I mean, it's not the best thing ever. It's
one gift for all 5 of us.
No. I got you a little something.
All right, wait, hold on.
Oh, I got the name of the fruit. It's a passion fruit. Is that what?
That's what Maddie said.
That's what I said to kick things off, right?
Yeah. It's a
He's like,
passion
did
fruit.
you have a passion fruit? You're like, no,
Maracuya.
definitely didn't have one of those.
Maracuya.
It's Maggie. You ever had a passion fruit?
I mean, I think so, but now I'm not so sure.
Anyway,
I've never been to Costa Rica, so apparently I've never had the really good stuff.
we need to get more fruits and vegetables in this radio studio instead of Doritos and Cheetos and Diet Coke, which is all over the newsroom right now.
Good luck to that. With this crowd, no way.
I'm sounding like Tom Brady now. I was actually thinking about Tom Brady when I was down there. I'm like, oh, I get it. I get the TB12 method now. Like fresh fruit and vegetables is a key to longevity.
Did you see Giselle?
No, I saw the jiu-jitsu instructor.
Nice. High five him.
Why, does she live down there?
Yeah. This is the whole thing. She and Tom had the big compound in Costa Rica.
Wait,
They're
what?
just eating papaya all day and being beautiful.
Yeah, that's how they do it. It's the key is eating a lot of passion fruit makes you a beautiful person. Like Maggie,
You have a lot of passion.
you're not here in the studio. I'm
Good one,
glowing.
Mags.
I'm glowing right now, aren't I, Manny? Like a different
You look
person.
spectacular.
Yes.
Man, Perloff being radiant is not something I had on my bingo card. I don't know how we're going to deal with this as a show.
Yeah, it's all the passion fruit.
So his Eagles win the Super Bowl. So he's riding on cloud 9 because of the Eagles, and now Perloff has a healthy diet of fruits and vegetables from Costa Rica. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this.
Not to mention the tan that he has. I mean, the guy looks like Juan Soto right now.
Yeah.
We need Perloff like paranoid and sleep deprived and looking pasty and pale. Like that's the Perloff we know. This new guy, I don't know even how to deal with this.
Yeah. Now that I have Maracuya in my life, forget it.
Everyone says that. Okay, coming up, we will get to whose stock is up and whose stock is down after a big weekend, the M&P 500. But you're welcome to call us about Shedeur Sanders at 855-212-4227. Do you forecast good things for Shedeur, or is this going to be a lot harder than maybe he or Deion or anyone thinks as he transitions to the NFL? It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
I've like never, this is TMI, I've like never ending snot coming out of my nose.
1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. So I was off last week, as we keep talking about, in Costa Rica. And every Wednesday we do the Great Debate. I'm sitting on the beach, trying to relax, and I see the Great Debate topic come from Maggie and Perloff Show. And it got me so annoyed that I almost called into the show. Maggie, can you explain the topic and the background of exactly what you were going for?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it was going to tick you off so much. So last week, a lot of the conversation was about how bad the NBA All-Star break was and how bad the game, the format, the broadcast, the slam dunk contest. I mean, you could criticize this thing 100 different ways. So it got us thinking, what are some traditions in sports that need to be retired permanently? Okay, so that was sort of the loose association on the news that we did for the Great Debate. And to be honest, not only did we come up with some great ideas, one of the ideas actually went by the wayside 2 days later. So props to Alex, who said one of the traditions in sports that needed to die was the Yankees' ban on facial hair. And Hal Steinbrenner must have been listening to the show. They literally held a press conference on Friday to pat themselves on the back.
Did they really need
they
to
no
hold a
longer
press
have a
conference,
facial.
though?
I was the one that
What's
told them
that?
to do it.
Did they really need to hold a press conference?
Why was that press conference 40 minutes? Anyway, the Yankees actually retired one of the silly things. So, Alex, kudos to you.
Yeah.
But Perloff, what got you so upset?
Well, first of all,
this?
that's a tradition with one team. Who cares about that? That one annoyed me a little bit because I'm like, who cares? The Yankees. That's not. Everything else was like global to all the sports. That annoyed me. Sorry, Alex. But the I was annoyed by you want to get rid of the wave. The wave is awesome. Who doesn't like being in a wave?
Everybody. Literally me.
I love the wave.
That's unfortunate. Isn't it called the Mexican wave?
It is called the Mexican wave.
It is?
Yeah.
It's ironic.
Yeah.
Then there was another one that I didn't like. But Maggie, I didn't like yours at all. You want to get rid of school mascots that are live animals. Now, I felt bad immediately. I'm like the fun part. Like everything else on there is light and fun. And it's like, get rid of the wave, get rid of facial hair, whatever. And then it dawned on me, is this like a serious, sort of animal cruelty take?
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, I also just don't think we need it anymore.
What do you
know?
know?
It's
so
weird.
Fun, though.
Fun for who? For Bevo, the big cow bowl that is in a stadium with 80,000 people? Is it fun for Uga 12, who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else than in the sugar, at the Sugar Bowl?
What are you talking about? You think Uga doesn't enjoy being at the game?
Ask the first 11. Why are we on 12?
Yeah, because Bulldogs don't live that long. No, Uga's totally fine.
I think we have so many other mascots that are not live animals that are great. Like your Philly Fanatic is awesome. We want to do Mr. Met. You could do Bucky the Badger,
San
the
Diego
Oregon
Chicken,
Duck.
great guy.
Great guy, apparently, even though I tried to bury him. I tried to cancel the San Diego Chicken under a Me Too scandal. Turns out I was dead wrong. But again, we don't need the live animals. You need an actual tiger to be on the sidelines at LSU?
Yes.
Come on.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I don't know. There's only one Philly Fanatic, so instead of Ralphie the Buffalo, you're going to have some guy running around in a buffalo outfit? That's ridiculous. Like, I think if you could do them humanely, then these animals are really cool mascots. And I don't think, I don't know much about the backgrounds of them, but they don't seem like they're suffering.
Is it natural for an animal like that to be in a stadium with 80,000 people cheering and fireworks going off and all of that? I think not. But by the way, you're right, because I lost this great debate. If you want to go by the poll results, I had the fewest amount of support. I only got 12% of the vote. But you know what won is the sports tradition that should be retired, the wave. The wave and the kiss cam were neck and neck, but the wave ended up winning, Pearl. You're alone here. People don't like it.
I don't know. It felt like a lot of negativity in that great debate. It felt like let's get rid of these things that some people enjoy. Like, why? Just let it be. The kiss cam. Kiss cam is great. There's so many embarrassing moments that come out of the kiss cam. Like, why? Who sits there and says, man, we got to get rid of that kiss cam?
Single Manny.
Yeah, Manny was bitter.
Is that
no
where
one
it
to
came
kiss
from?
on the kiss cam.
Does anybody want to watch grown adults awkwardly kiss each other on camera?
Yes.
Why, dog? That's weird.
It's funny. I don't know. I just like it's part of the I like a t-shirt cannon. I like a kiss cam. I like all the side stuff. I like some 9-year-old dude flossing on camera.
And mistreated animals. You love those too.
Yeah.
And animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Perloff. The show's going to be sent straight to PETA. We're going to be on our butts.
It just felt like, okay, Perloff's gone. Let's complain about little things that annoy us. Like, come on. Like, what? That's not a great debate. I felt like you guys were being petty. I'm sorry. I'm just going to throw it out there.
This was a send-up to you, by the way, complaining about small things.
What do I complain? But I mean, there's nothing like, what do I complain about small things? I complain about big things. Like any little side attraction at a sporting event, I'm all for. Like, right? Like, we all love the entertainment aspect. Like, go to a basketball game. There's like 7 minutes of actual basketball and 45 minutes of sideline entertainment. Am I right about that, Bogusch? You know the kids love it.
Music during possessions.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's the wave. I really think people don't like the wave.
You love the wave. What do you like about it?
Oh, I don't know. It's just like you're sitting there, you stand up, you get down. I can't believe people hate the wave. What's the hate about the wave?
Everyone hates the wave.
Like stands up in the middle of like an insane play or something like that, and you just miss it because someone's in front of you.
Well, usually you're doing the wave as I always thought it was like a silent fan protest of this game is boring, so we're going to do the wave. That's how I thought it started, but now there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Alex, what games are you at that it's so precious that you're going to miss?
It was Argentina, Canada. There you go.
Oh,
the Copa America semifinal.
Oh, boy. Here, now
I'm trying to watch the GOAT play.
Yeah.
He's trying to watch Lionel Messi go up against Jonathan David.
Yeah, so this is exactly what this was. At the roots of this great debate was soccer snobbery. I knew there was something. I finally got to it. To it. The worst crime in sports, soccer snobbery. There we go.
That's what Perloff wants to retire. No, this was Pat Boyle. It was Pat Boyle who picked the wave. I don't think if Pat's a soccer snob. He was talking about baseball.
He's a City fan, so
yeah, he does. He does enjoy the English soccer.
But what was he? Did we name all the? Was there any other nominations that were strong?
Yeah. Okay, so we had live animal mascots. These are sports traditions that should be retired. Live animal mascots, the kiss cam, the wave, the Yankees facial hair policy, which did actually go by the wayside 2 days after we did this. And EJ's was handshake lines in college because it caused, scuffles and stuff. And then a few days later, Saturday night, we get BYU Arizona, where we did get a big scuffle in the handshake line. So maybe EJ was onto something.
Yeah, I could see that one, but still, I don't know. We need the content, guys. We can't get rid of these things. all the good stuff. 80% of the stuff we talk about is you're going to get rid of. I don't know. It just feels like.
So, Perloff, there's not one sports tradition that you would want to get rid of?
What was in the chat? Did the chat have some good ones? No, none of these.
Yeah, I saw someone say running on to the storming the field or storming the court.
We had some court storming. We also had Gatorade baths was a really popular one.
Yeah, that was popular too, yeah.
What are we, the no fun police? What are we, the NFL? Or was this Roger Goodell? I'm surprised court storming, that can't be popular because everyone loves court storming, even as wildly dangerous as it is.
That's why Maggie loves it.
Yeah, everybody loves court storming.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Every man for themselves.
Gatorade baths. What is the harm in a Gatorade bath? Like, why does that bother anybody?
I'm having a lot of fun hearing you say, why are you mad about this? This is your job. You're always mad about things.
There are things
you
that get me mad,
for?
but not these things.
Okay.
These things are hard. Well, find one, Bogusch, where I get mad. I do like, what was the game where they gave the Gatorade bath? It was Kentucky LSU, and the team ended up losing. Do you remember that?
No.
It was like 8 years ago. Kentucky LSU, they Gatorade bath. I think the Kentucky coach. I'll find it. Like, that's not good. But generally, maybe it's because the Eagles just won the Super Bowl. I'm for all of this stuff.
Great.
Wait, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, so now you're for live animal mascots? They actually don't have a real eagle.
Maggie, you wouldn't understand what it's like to watch your coach get a Gatorade bath because you have to actually win a game.
Oh, that's true.
You set that
He's got me there. Pearl, you said you have a present for us?
Oh, I got the present is I got these little chocolates for everybody. So Costa Rica, they make a lot of chocolate and they make a lot of coffee. So I have chocolate-covered coffee beans, which you can see on YouTube right now, Infinity Sports Radio Network. And they're really, really good. I bought like 7 for everyone and ate 3 on the plane. So now there are 4.
Coffee-flavored candy from Latin America is actually crack.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I could have spent a little more money and got bigger ones, but I was worried about everybody's waistline.
Sure, yeah.
Except Alex, who doesn't seem to have any problems.
Now that you're on a fruit and vegetables only diet back from your vacation. So is that one bag we're all splitting?
No, you all got little bags.
Okay.
Well, 4 of us did.
Well, 4 of you do. I wasn't aware of this Alex situation. I wasn't aware that I'd arrived back to America and Alex, a super soccer fan, who's so worried about a wave interrupting a soccer play when they only score about once every hour and a half. Like, what are you going to miss, dude? Like a little pass? Whatever.
Just eviscerated soccer like that.
No, I'm just saying the wave is fun. Like, you got to do something. No one scores. I'm sorry. Alex is such a purist. Needs to see the ball movement. Like, oh, whatever.
Oh, man. All right, folks. Get us to some headlines.
This is coming from a guy who dresses up as soccer players for Halloween.
I do like the outfits.
The Sixers, by the way, have a present for Pearl coming home. A not great Joel Embiid update, according to reports. Embiid undergoing another round of tests this week on his troublesome left knee. The team and player exploring their options, which might be surgery, since the current rehab plan hasn't made the knee any better. On the court last night, the Thunder feeling good in Minnesota.
Gilgeous-Alexander between the rings. 10 to shoot. Probes and kicks. Right wing Williams wants 3. It's online. Cha-ching. Another Thunder money ball, baby. Ring it up. 123-112. OKC by 11.
Matt Pinto on Thunder Radio. OKC a 130-123 win in Minnesota. Jalen Williams scored 18, had 9 assists. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander scored 37 with 8 rebounds and 8 helpers. The Cavs outscored the Grizzlies 129-123 for a 7-game win streak. The Piston run is up to 6 after outscoring the Hawks 148-143. Cade Cunningham 38 points and 12 rebounds. And the Bucks have won 4 in a row, rallying past the Heat 120-113. Miami losing despite leading by as many as 14 and getting 40 points from Tyler Hero. Hockey last night, the Robertson family had a good evening.
Duchesne, Johnston save, rebound, score! Robertson completes the hat trick! All 3 goals here in the second period, the last 2 on the power play. What a night for Jason Robertson.
So that's 3 goals for Jason Robertson in the Stars' 4-3 win at the Islanders. His brother Nicholas scored twice in Toronto's 5-2 win in Chicago. The last brothers to score multiple goals on the same day were Pavel and Valerie Bure back on March 1st, 2000. A quick off-the-top-of-my-head trivia question. Who is or was Val Bure married to? She's an actress. I think they're still together.
I have no idea.
Anybody?
Was she Canadian?
I don't think she's Canadian. She was on American TV.
Cuthbert? She seemed
No,
to be,
she's married to Deion.
She's married to someone else.
And I think she is
Phaneuf.
Canadian. Yeah. You got to go a little farther back. Like, think TGI Friday.
Oh, it's Cameron.
Yes.
From Full House.
From Full House.
DJ from Full House.
Yep. See, Maggie got
Candace
there.
Cameron Bure. You're right.
Which one was that on Full House?
The older sister.
Oh, the non-twin.
And the non-Jodie Sweetin one. There are 2 older sisters plus the twins. All right, good talk. U.S. women's soccer beat us. See, here's Perloff immediately. He hates this conversation, so he just goes away.
I was already having trouble with you.
Save the wave.
I didn't like you calling assist a helper. I know you do that in your updates.
Oh, so you went out since then?
Yeah,
That's 4 paragraphs ago.
No, it's just like things that we got to change, like a helper.
Can we just rewind this conversation to 45 seconds ago when Perloff was chastising me for getting upset about the little things in sports, like live animal mascots, when you just basically protested the show because Bogusch said helper instead of assist. But no. Tell me how I'm petty.
Yeah, I don't know.
That happened 90 seconons ago. No, nothing? Got nothing.
Obviously, I did that on purpose to make fun of it. Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, come on. Sure. Thanks for explaining that joke that I made, how, Maggie, that of course that's what I was doing. I was trying to pretend I was petty like you guys. Helper, whatever.
You're just being you. U.S. women's soccer beat Australia last night 2-1 in Arizona, improving to 2-0 in the She Believes Cup. They'll face Japan for the title on Wednesday in San Diego. And you may have heard late last week that Venus Williams was going to play the upcoming event in Indian Wells, California. It would have been her first WTA event in a year, but Venus said over the weekend she never had any plans to play there. She heard about it when the tournament made its announcement. We don't know yet how things got so mixed up. Maggie, back to you.
Maggie.
Yeah, the Williams sisters in Indian Wells has had a very challenging history. It looks like it's continuing. Bogues, thanks so much. Okay, we didn't get a chance to get to the M&P 500. Whose stock is up and whose stock is down after a big weekend? We get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The M&P 500 on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff back from vacation in Costa Rica. So, Pearl, a little stock up, stock down as we do on Mondays after a big weekend. Get us started. Whose stock is up in your book?
Okay, I'm going to do a little callback from last week because I wasn't here and I didn't get to talk about it. But it's also permeated throughout this week. SNL 50, to me, was a grand slam home run. I'm going back a week, but I just got back, and everybody in my circle is talking about it and replaying the skits. They played all my favorite skits. And the thing about it, Maggie, SNL 50, the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live, had such a high bar. To even get close to that bar, when something is so much hype around an event, to actually deliver, to me, is a huge accomplishment. Maybe it wasn't for everybody, and maybe you aren't an SNL fan, but the fact that they made a halfway funny show, considering what an assignment it was, to me was a crazy feat. So I'm going off sports, but I was so excited about SNL. I know you guys hit it last week, but I just wanted to weigh in as well.
Yeah, I thought it had some moments. I thought it had some moments, but I thought the 25th anniversary was much, much better. And in some ways, I thought the 40th was better, too. But sure, yes. I mean, it's an accomplishment just to be this culturally relevant for 50 years. That's wild.
Strong disagree. This one was way funnier than the 40th. It had Kristen Wiig, and it had Kate McKinnon and Meryl Streep. Oh, man, I loved every second of it. But go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, my stock up goes to somebody who we love to clown around here. Perloff's not a huge fan. But how about Alex Rodriguez? I have no idea why he was at a Bucknell basketball game last night, nor why was he taking a half-court shot on behalf of a student. But how about A-Rod nails a half-court basketball shot at Bucknell and wins a kid $10,000. Now, I don't know if they got to pay taxes on this or the whole deal or whatever, but apparently he was at Bucknell to speak about his company, which he founded with a couple other entrepreneurs, and apparently one of them is a graduate of Bucknell and the other's a trustee. Okay, so he's there to do some kind of speaking engagement, gets to the basketball game, wearing the Bucknell shirt, and drains a half-court shot. Alex Rodriguez, amazing. Phenomenal athlete. Could he have been a crossover star? Could he have been a two-sport star? I have no idea.
Amazing. That was the weirdest headline I've ever seen, and you're right, that was crazy incredible. Okay, I'll do stock down, and I'm glad I get to it first because I know you want to do it as well. I mean, Joel Embiid, I'm sorry. Now the report is that the Sixers and Joel Embiid are exploring new options for his knee injury, including surgery. We all know what that means. Exploring new options means bye-bye, Joel. Not only is this season over, which it is already over, but I think his Sixers era is over. I think the process is over. I have zero expectations that he will ever play any meaningful minutes with the 76ers again.
Yeah, this is rough. This whole season for the 76ers has been one big stock down, and they had high expectations, which makes it even worse. My stock down has got to go to Steve Smith, whose business is now all over the internet. Now, he has not commented, but a story came out over the weekend where he was allegedly having an affair with a woman who worked at the Baltimore Ravens when Smith was there from 2014 to 2016. Reputable outlets are reporting on this, so I don't feel like it's too gossipy or whatever, but it is very gossipy. Steve Smith has not said anything, and some of these text messages that came out between allegedly this woman and Steve Smith, quite frankly, TMI. And we need a new version of TMI, like too much information. Didn't need to know about that. And so for Steve Smith having his business plastered all over the internet, somebody got sloppy, and that's a big stock down for Steve Smith.
Yeah, that got a lot of attention. Good one. Okay, time for one more stock up at least.
Yeah, go ahead.
USC women's basketball. Oh, my God, they're so good. I watched them beat up Illinois yesterday, and they're setting up. They're going to play number 3 UCLA on Saturday. Juju Watkins is a superstar. I feel like just the way it's going is she's sort of filling in that void left by Caitlin Clark, and the way that they're a top team is really exciting to me. I think USC women's basketball, especially if they beat UCLA, who's also great, is just going to head into the tournament, Maggie, with so much momentum. They've beaten 8 straight wins against ranked teams. It's just really amazing to watch. And I think like the gods who rule women's college basketball are thrilled that they're this good right now. And going up against UCLA next Saturday night is going to be the game of the year so far. I can't wait.
Okay, I got a stock up for you, and I've got another stock down, but these are non-sports related. So my stock up is milkshakes. Pearl, I had one over the weekend.
Yeah.
My family and I went to a diner on Saturday night for dinner. Just did not feel like cooking. Go to the diner, and someone in the next table ordered a milkshake, and I was like, man, that looks really good. I haven't had, like, you guys know I don't love ice cream, and I don't love those kind of textures.
Weirdo.
But it was just like it looked so delicious that I ordered it. Vanilla milkshake, whipped cream, sprinkles, such a delight. I forgot the power and the beauty of a milkshake. It's so simple, and I just loved it. And then another non-sports related stock down. Can I do stock down on movie descriptions that don't nearly tell you what you need to know about the movie? My husband and I were watching a movie called Honora. It's an Oscar-nominated movie over the weekend, right? Yeah, they don't tell you the most important part of the film, which is about this young girl who falls in love with this Russian oligarch's young son, who's kind of like an immature brat. And they don't tell you that she's a stripper and an escort in the description of the film, Perloff. We had no idea what we were walking into, and we thought it was just going to be a love story, a romance story. It's got gratuitous nudity and sex all over the whole thing. We were blindsided.
Oh, my God. That's because you don't pay attention to culture, Maggie. Everybody knows what Honora is about.
Dude, it wasn't in the description. I had no idea, and all of a sudden the opening scene, I was like, what is happening? I don't know if I can hang on for this. It's too racy.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Which NFL coach is entering the season on the hot seat? Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So glad that Perloff is back from Costa Rica. Well-deserved vacation. You look healthy. You look less pale.
That will go
it's
away.
A minor miracle.
That will go away in about 3 days. I'm already falling into all these bad habits. You know, you go away on vacation and you eat healthy and you go for runs on the beach. That's a long time ago.
That's funny. I have the opposite when I'm on vacation. That's when I'm eating dessert, probably drinking a little bit more, not working out as much, and then I get back home, and that's when I get back to my healthier routines. That's funny that you and I are so different about that.
Yeah, well, I do actually, I don't eat a lot of sugar. I did eat a lot of sugar in Costa Rica. You mentioned last segment, actually, how you love milkshakes. So yeah. I kept ordering smoothies, which are basically milkshakes, because they just put a ton of frozen vanilla yogurt and fresh fruit. And I got to tell you, it's heaven on earth. In fact, now you got me thinking about milkshakes so badly right now, Maggie. And what did you describe? There were like whipped cream on top of the milkshake?
I know. Perloff now going to be on an all-smoothie diet. We'll get to NFL coaches on the hot seat in just one second. But, yeah, no, I mentioned last segment that I had a milkshake for the first time in a really long time because I've said before I don't really love the texture of ice cream so much. Like flan, stuff like that is not really my thing. But this milkshake that we had at a diner on Saturday night with my family was vanilla, whipped cream, sprinkles. I felt like it was my birthday or something, and it's far from. So I'm back on the milkshake bandwagon. But anyway, let's get to coaches. Perloff, I know we still have the combine. We've got the draft, free agency. There's a lot to go here in the NFL offseason. But if you're looking at a coach who you think enters the season on the hot seat, who is that gentleman?
Okay, I mean, there's a bunch of guys who are in trouble probably. But to me, the most important hot seat right now is in Cleveland with Kevin Stefanski. It's because here's the thing. A lot of the coaches are on the hot seat are unproven or just not that good. Like, who knows about Brian Callahan in Tennessee? But Kevin Stefanski is a really good coach, runs a really good offense, and has been put in an impossible situation because they put all their resources into Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson is probably not going to play this year because of his Achilles. So now they're in a position, he's either going to have a rookie quarterback that they'll take with number 2, or they're going to say, you know what, we don't want to take one of these quarterbacks. We're going to do some kind of bridge quarterback. So he's got to find a way to win in this situation right now because Cleveland is not going to give him any more chances. How do you win out of that situation? It's almost impossible. It's definitely the front office's fault, not Kevin Stefanski's fault. But I think that they're going to tire of him unless they have a winning record. I mean, at least 9-8, Maggie. And I think it's going to be hard in that division for him to get to 9-8.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say that Stefanski has there's no proverbial blood on his hands about the Deshaun Watson thing because they were all very in this together. And I know the head coach probably can't tell the owner, hey, I don't know about this guy. But let's be fair, like they all stood up there and they all said that they wanted Watson and they were happy and comfortable with everything he had to say. And so they're all going to wear it, except for the ownership, obviously,
why would
who never wears it.
Why would the coach wear that? I see what you're saying, but like they have a very strong GM. They have John DePodesta, the guy that Jonah Hill played in Moneyball. They have a strong front office. I'm not sure that's fair to put on the coach. And also a very interventionist owner. Like, you're putting all that on Stefanski? You think it's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I thought about more of him as a victim here.
I don't see it. The other part, too, is why wasn't Deshaun Watson better under Stefanski? Now, he was hurt a lot, and he has continued to be hurt. But even when he was playing, yeah, they may have won some games, Pearl, but he didn't look anywhere close to what he was. I mean, are we forgetting already that Deshaun Watson was thought of as maybe a top 5 quarterback in the league when he was with the Houston Texans? He never got anywhere close to that. Injuries obviously set him back, but does Stefanski not wear any of that? Shouldn't he have looked great when he was healthy and at full strength?
He played 6 games in 2022, 6 games in 2023, and 7 games last year. And by the way, I think at least he might have had a winning record under Stefanski. You know he doesn't wear it because Joe Flacco came out and looked like, I don't know, Tom Brady when he was under. You know Stefanski can run a good offense because when Watson sat, some of his backups did really well. That's why he doesn't wear it. You know, you saw Flacco. Stefanski can run a good offense. So I think Deshaun Watson just didn't have time to get comfortable.
Well, or maybe he can only, never really could unlock, what Deshaun Watson could do. So Deshaun Watson, 3-3 his first year, 5-1 the second year, so starting to get better, and then 1-6 in 2024. If you're looking at his quarterback record overall in Cleveland is 9-10-0.
Right,
so
I think it's hard for me to blame Stefanski because he didn't really have any time with him. Like, how can you unlock him when he's only playing and he's hurt in a lot of those games too? He's not fully healthy. The 5-1 was deceiving too. Watson did not really play like 5-1.
He didn't play that great.
Yeah, he had one great game right before he got hurt. I think it was 2023 against the Ravens. He had a really good game. But I don't know if you judge Stefanski on that. I think if you're in pro Stefanski, you look at Flacco and say that was great. Now, Jameis also had some good games last year for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, Jameis is an adventure. But the other part, too, about Stefanski, we're talking about coaches who are entering next NFL season already on the hot seat. Does it not reflect on Stefanski as the head coach that Myles Garrett's asking for a trade?
No.
I know Stefanski is always the offensive guy, but you don't think that isn't it also part of the coach's job to try to manage egos and things like that?
I mean, I don't know. No, I don't blame Stefanski for that. I mean, it's Myles Garrett. Of course he wants out. That team has been terrible last year they were awful. I totally get it. No, I don't think that's on him. And also Myles Garrett, who knows if that's more about Myles Garrett than Stefanski. I don't know. I actually, when Garrett made that trade demand, I never heard anyone say, oh, this is Stefanski's job to rein him in. That feels a little thin to me too. Like, Kevin Stefanski's one of those coaches who runs a great offense. Like, I can't put that on him. And if that's what you want, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it should be more like Bill Parcells on like the strong leader type. But I think that's the least of their problems is. And Myles Garrett, by the way, they're not trading him. Like, are they? Do you think that's ever going to happen?
I'm not sure, but I know that it doesn't bode well for anybody in charge when your best player is saying, I want to get the hell out of here because I don't want to be part of a rebuild or any of that. And I think that you can be an offensive-minded coach, but you're still the head coach.
Yeah, but
so
your quarterback
I do think
got hurt
more
and your best player got hurt. Like in week 1, Nick Chubb your best weapon got hurt in Nick Chubb. And your O-line just disappeared. Like everybody was hurt last year. It doesn't act, I mean... I don't know. I think Stefanski's a really good play caller, and I think he'll land on his feet after Cleveland.
855-212-4227. We're asking which NFL coach enters the season on the hot seat. You know, for me, it's got to be our pal in Miami, Mike McDaniel. Again, a quarterback who's dealt with a lot of injuries. So you don't want to say, wow, like it's totally his fault because Tua looks all time when he actually has like a healthy, when he is healthy, he can deliver the football. It's never about that. But I just don't know if McDaniel is wearing thin a little bit with the organization. You have Tyreek Hill out there asking for trades, kind of walked it back a little bit after the season. It's not like you haven't spent money. This is a team that is near the top of the cap. Now, you could say, did they spend it wisely? I don't know. But on paper, they actually do have some talent. It's names who are playing for the Miami Dolphins. And they just cannot make this work. And again, a lot of it's Tua, and maybe they should have never paid him considering his injury history. But I think you have an owner that's really, impatient, someone who wanted Sean Payton and Tom Brady and is now here with Mike McDaniel. I could see the GM being on the hot seat, Chris Greer, and I could also see Mike McDaniel be on the hot seat. And I'm going to tell you another thing, and maybe this might not be fair because I know McDaniel's kind of a quirky guy, but the getup and the costume that it looks like he's wearing, I know this is like his look now, but the glasses and the hair and the clothes, I don't think he's helping himself because that stuff works well when you're winning, I guess. You can wear Bill Belichick's cutoff hoodie, but when you're not, you look a little like it's playing dress up, like you're trying to look like some kind of Miami kingpin, and it's not you, dude. Or it doesn't seem like it's you. So it looks a little inauthentic and a little silly. And, this is a team that hasn't won a playoff game in 2 decades or more. So I think Mike McDaniel could be in some trouble.
Ooh, I don't know about... I agree he's in trouble, but you think it's inauthentic. But this is a guy, there's a video of him when he was a ball boy for the Broncos with 2 huge earrings. He's always gone against the grain in NFL style. And also, he's vaped on the sideline. Like, I think that's who he is. I think the capri pants and all the weird stuff, I'm not sure you think he's being disingenuous and trying to get this kingpin look? He's always been a little cutting edge fashion-wise.
Okay, but he didn't look like that when he was getting the job in Miami. So maybe he wasn't being authentic when he was hired for the job, and now the real Mike McDaniel's coming out. Either way, feels like a bit of a disconnect. I know I'm going with something that seems a little like frivolous or like who cares how a coach dresses, but I do think some point, what are you projecting out there? And I'm not saying you have to be, conservative or whatever to win games, but you do look a little silly when you're going 8-9.
Well,
now,
that's the thing. Like, are you blaming him for that, though? Because that team hasn't won in forever. In fact, they're better with him than they've been in a long time. Like, they have done nothing in 30 years. So isn't that on the front office as well, Maggie?
It is, but, to be honest, like, Mike McDaniel is supposed to be this real innovator, and he hasn't gotten any further in the playoffs than Adam Gase did with the Miami Dolphins. So, where, like, we've seen what it can be when it's working, like, at the top, which is Tua throwing to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and it's awesome. But any coach could coach that. I strongly believe, well, maybe not Brian Flores, but a lot of offensive coaches could coach that. And I don't think Tua is like gives you nothing. Like when he's healthy, he can deliver the football. The arm strength is there, all of that. So it's what happens when things are not going perfectly. And I think Mike McDaniel is in some trouble here. Can I give you another guy who might be in trouble?
By the way, one thing about the Dolphins, if they had not signed Tua and they could get Stafford in there, oh my God, would that have been a game changer. To me, this is 100% front office, and McDaniel's not perfect either. But give me another one.
No, you're right. Stafford, what a beautiful landing spot that would be, right? Just like, that would be a chef's kiss.
But as you start out, they paid Tua, which I understand why they did it, but that was a mistake.
Yeah, maybe there's something with like insurance money, or if he can't play, maybe they need like a better backup than what they've had. But that's going down a rabbit hole. We're talking about coaches who enter on the hot seat. And as I'm sitting here in the New Jersey headquarters for me today, I'm in my closet doing the show because I'm feeling under the weather and I don't want to get anyone sick. All my Buffalo Bills stuff that's behind me, the Jim Kelly signed picture, all my Bills t-shirts. Can I give you a little Sean McDermott on the hot seat for totally different reasons than these guys? And it's not underachieving where you can't get past the wild card game, but it's underachieving that you cannot beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think Sean McDermott, I don't think the Super Bowl was good for him. Let's put it that way. Now, the Bills didn't have the defense that your Philadelphia Eagles had, Perloff. You guys had dogs on that defense, and clearly they were coached up and had a phenomenal game plan against Kansas City. But you and I talked about it. Man, that was not good for Buffalo.
Yeah.
The fact that Kansas City got smacked around like they did in the Super Bowl and the Bills couldn't beat this version of the Chiefs, which looked like they were very vulnerable, I don't think that bodes well for Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean, and let's be full disclosure here. You've been kind of wondering about, not wondering, but asking, is this the right guy for the team for 2 or 3 years now?
Well, and also our pal Warren Sharp, who's very smart on social media, posting a lot of football things that we might have thought about, was posting some stuff about Josh Allen over the weekend and how well he's played in playoff games. He can't be any more efficient. Like it's historic in some of the ways. He's not the problem.
Yeah, but
so
he's facing some prevent defense because if you can't stop anybody, it's not that hard for your quarterback to get some nice looks. To be fair, like Kansas City didn't even have a good offense this year, and they rolled your Bills in the playoffs.
Okay, well, McDermott's the defensive guy. And I know they got rid of some names on the defense, and so they were rebuilding a bit, but I mean, still, for totally different reasons than Mike McDaniel and Kevin Stefanski, I think that Sean McDermott could be on the hot seat. And you say I've been thinking about it. I wanted them to get Jim Harbaugh. Yeah. I wanted them to go full court press on Harbaugh when he was obviously wanted to leave Michigan, and they weren't going to do it at that time because McDermott was still winning. But it's one of those like Mike Tomlin a little bit, where you're sort of in this middle ground. You're winning enough to be relevant and be a contender, but do you actually have the right guy to take you over the top? And at least Mike Tomlin has actually won a Super Bowl. There's proof of concept there.
Maybe an apt comparison be Marty Schottenheimer with the Chargers, where he could. But that being said, like that's a Hall of Fame level coach, and I think it's funny. We were talking about McDermott a lot last year. There are some NFL coaches who really, really respect him. Like some people think he's a top 5 coach in the NFL, and his playoff. I mean, he beat a much better Ravens team, right? In the playoffs this year. I know that Andrews had something to do with that, but that Ravens team was way more talented than your Bills team and found a way to win that game. So I understand what you're saying. You're right. He doesn't seem to be able to get them over the top, but I view him it's a little like Nick Sirianni. Maybe there's something going on there that we don't totally understand. That's all I will say. And McDermott is also from the Philadelphia Eagles tree as well. So I feel like there might be a quality there that gets you to be a good team. So that is something. I don't think you throw that out the window.
No, listen, the team plays hard for them. Yeah. But are they playing hard for Sean or are they playing hard for Josh?
Well, I don't know. I do think, again, like it's very Sirianni-esque. Like, I don't know exactly what you do around here. Right? You're the defensive genius, and yet your defense looked terrible. And by the way, like, Josh is good, but like, is he so good that like he's gonna be able to carry a team? Like, there must be something going on where that team is playing hard around him. He's like, they don't even have names, like except for Josh Allen. Who are the stars you're pointing to? How many Pro Bowlers are there?
Exactly. You're asking how good is Josh Allen? He's elevating
but
everybody
how do you know he's
on
not the
that
coach?
offense.
How do you know it's not the coach that everybody's playing really well for? And the fact that they haven't had to rebuild as the defense got older. I mean, McDermott nobody had any expectations for him last year. He could have been coach of the year.
But yet he's never in the conversation for coach of the year.
And it was Belichick. So, I mean,
well, at least Belichick won a couple. But here's the thing. It's very rare for coaches who have been in the place that they're at for as long as Sean McDermott has been there and to finally rip off the first Super Bowl. It never happens. And you lived this with Andy Reid all those years in Philadelphia. 855-212-4227. Let us know what you think. An NFL coach who's entering the season already on the hot seat. What do you think? Also, Perloff, while he was relaxing, air quotes, in Costa Rica last week, fighting off poisonous snakes, crocodiles, and basically doing an Indiana Jones impersonation, he did have time to listen to the show and had a lot of issues with what we talked about last week. So we'll get another installment of what got Perloff mad while he was on vacation. We'll do that next. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. Perloff here in the New York studio. Maggie at the home studio. I came off a very healthy week in Costa Rica. Maggie has a little cold. I apologize for that. We're doing coaches on the hot seat. I went with Cleveland's Kevin Stefanski. Maggie went with Miami's Mike McDaniel. We'd love to hear from you, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Tyler in West Virginia, who has one who I wish I had done. Tyler, what do you got?
Hey, Perloff, just thinking that keeping it within the same division, you've got a guy in Cincinnati named Zach Taylor, and continuous slow starts to each year, and a failure to maximize this young core, which now this offseason, are they going to be able to sign everyone? I don't really know, but it's unacceptable. And with the firing of all the coordinators around him, it's on him this year.
Well, can't you blame the defense, though, Tyler? I mean, that's, again, I'm not saying this, but people would say Zach's an offensive guy and the defense stunk last year.
Of course, but now that you've gotten your guy with Anarumo out and you're going to hopefully replace guys, I mean, it was unacceptable to let DJ Reader go. And I think you saw that a lot last year, that there was no interior pressure. And, I think Sam Hubbard's gone this year, so can they pair somebody up with Trey Hendrickson on the other side?
A great question. Yeah, thanks, Tyler.
Ty, thanks for the call. I'm glad you said it, because this goes back to Perloff and I think we'll always disagree about whether an offensive-minded head coach also has to take ownership for the defense. And, it worked for a little bit of letting Lou Anarumo, the defense coordinator, who seemed to have the secret sauce for Patrick Mahomes, well, they got him out of there. So I do think that the head coach should have to wear everything because it's their operation. And what's borderline criminal for the Cincinnati Bengals is you had a fully healthy Joe Burrow this year, 17 starts, threw for nearly 5,000 yards, 43 touchdowns. He was, that led the NFL. He's in the MVP conversation, Perloff, and they're turning in a 9-8 record. Like, this is an abomination. You cannot waste these really good years from Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but I mean, a couple of those losses were on Burrow. He had a couple late game mistakes early in the season. I hear you, but first of all, T. Higgins was in and out. The defense was just awful, though. How can you ignore that? And I guess forget about like the Burrow part of it. Like, yes, it's on Zach Taylor, but can you blame him for putting all his faith in Lou Anarumo? That's the only guy who's ever solved Patrick Mahomes, except for the Eagles now and the Bucs in 2020. But I understand like what Zach Taylor was thinking. Like, I would not have been interventionist if Lou Anarumo was my defensive coordinator. I think he's like Sean McDermott. He's just a little bit underrated. You don't have that kind of success, get to the Super Bowl, almost win, get to the AFC title game and battle Mahomes to the last second if you're not good in some sense. Now, I do think that the great question, is there a limit for good coaches? Like, will he get them over the hump? But I think you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater looking at last year. I don't know if Joe Burrow gets better because Zach Taylor leaves.
Well, I just ask you, which way is it going? They lost the Super Bowl, then they lost in the conference championship, then they came in last place in the division, and this year they came in second to last place. And again, fully healthy Burrow this year. So you don't love where it's trending. That's for sure. So yeah, Zach Taylor is certainly someone to keep an eye on. You got to get the sense that Burrow kind of holds his fate in his hands. And one other quick thing about the Bengals before we get to something that made you mad last week is they should stop lying to Joe Burrow that they're going to be able to sign all these guys. I think this is messing around with him, that they're going to sign Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to do that. I think they've shown in the past that they will not do that. This is not Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is not the Rams. So I think they're maybe stringing Joe Burrow along here and setting up the fan base, not just their quarterback, for a disappointing offseason. But that's just me. 855-212-4227. All right, Perloff, you're in Costa Rica. You're in paradise last week, yet you couldn't stop checking in on the show, which we appreciate, and something really ticked you off.
So you guys had a discussion. What team is most likely to have a Washington Commanders-like turnaround? The Washington Commanders went from terrible to the NFC title game. It's a pretty huge turnaround. But I get it. It does happen in the NFL. And you went with the New England Patriots. Now, I understand that. Some other people are into the Patriots. You do this Lou Holtz thing where you overrate the AFC East opponents of the Buffalo Bills, your team. You do it all the time. You think the Dolphins are good. You think the Jets are good. And now you think the Patriots are good when they have stunk up the joint for 5 years. The Dolphins have stunk up the joint for 20 years. The Jets have stunk up the joint since 2011, was it? So you do this thing where you play up your opponent. There is no way the Patriots are making the AFC title game like the Washington Commanders. What team are you looking at? Yeah, Drake May is awesome, and Mike Vrabel is a good coach to get wins at the margins. But I just think that you're doing that thing you do with your AFC East opponents when Buffalo has won that division a million years in a row and will probably win it every year that Josh Allen is there.
Listen, I'm not saying that the Bills can't win the division. I mean, the Commanders didn't win the division. Your Philadelphia Eagles did. You don't have to win the division to go on a run like this. But you have Drake May, who's going to be in year 2. You've got all the money in the world to spend if you're the New England Patriots. And by the way, this has shown at once upon a time this was a very good ownership group, right? And I think Belichick at times probably held them back from spending even more than they probably would spend. You've got a proven coach in Mike Vrabel. Like, if you're asking me for a sleeping giant, I think that Drake May is really the reason. And I saw what they did. They almost beat my Bills with a team that was completely, devoid of real offensive talent.
Yeah,
They beat
the Bills in the past with no talent, too. What difference did it make?
So you don't see that there's any positivity brewing with the Patriots at all? You're not a Drake May person.
No, I do. No, I see positivity brewing, but you're talking about like who's going like kind of worst to first, like has a chance to win their division, and I do not see the Patriots knocking off the Bills. I mean, they're 26 in Super Bowl odds. Like, I think that they're going to take a major step forward here, but a major step forward is nowhere near what Washington did, which I did not see either. So I could be wrong. Who's your second player on the Patriots? Like, who's this?
Christian Gonzalez.
Give me the third player. And by the way, Christian Gonzalez is a cornerback who's been in and out. give me the third player. Give me the skill player, or give me the guy. Like they very devoid of talent. And you're right, they have a lot of money, but there's a lot of work to do there. And I'm not sure that they spend all that money right now because they're not close. Like, their timeline should be a slow build. And even though Mike Vrabel brings in high expectations, I hope they would be very patient with this team and Drake May. Because they do not have a lot of talent. And they've let a lot of talent walk out the door on defense as well.
Yeah, but I think they have the high draft picks, So what are they picking fourth, right? Patriots picking fourth, which means fourth in every round. They have all this money to spend. I think if they want to kickstart this rebuild, do you get Drake May at T. Higgins? Do you do something, if he's available for he's tag and trade? I think it's possible to get this thing going in the right direction. Is there a DK Metcalf trade that's possibly in the works? Something like that. So, yeah. Do you have a counter? Do you have a team that you think will go and have a Washington Commanders-like run, or you just don't like my selection?
No, I didn't like your selection. No, I think the Commanders were such a fluke. But here's one thing about the Commanders. It's different than what the Patriots will do. The Commanders loaded up on old talent. They were one of the oldest teams in the league. I think the Patriots could do what you're saying. But are they really going to go out and spend all this money on old guys to contend right now, knowing that Josh Allen's sitting there in Buffalo? I don't know in that division if that's their strategy. Like, what's their philosophy? Did you bring in a Mike Vrabel if you're Robert Kraft and say, go out, sign anybody you want, bring in T. Higgins, bring in DK Metcalf, bring in a bunch of old defensive players? I'm just not sure that that's how they're going to view the team. Washington went for it immediately. They brought in Cliff. I just don't know if the Patriots are going to do that. I think in the future, Drake May is going to give you a lot of headaches. I just don't think it's going to be this year. So it's not, I totally understand what you're saying, but I think that they're going to, if they're smart, do a slow burn.
They could. I mean, but listen, I think that you have an ownership group that's getting a little itchy here. I mean, they dumped Gerard Mayo after one season. This is a guy who they handpicked years ago to be Belichick's successor, and they got rid of him right away to bring in Vrabel. I think that you're seeing Robert Kraft. I think it's very important, maybe to his Hall of Fame candidacy. I don't know what's going on with the Patriots for him to win another title with no Belichick and no Brady. Because there's an antsiness that I feel coming out of New England with that ownership group. I don't think they're fine with all the titles and then they're like, all right, we're just going to rest on our 6 Super Bowls.
I mean, listen, Kraft is also getting up there. Maybe not a lot of time, but he's the second oldest owner in his own division behind Stephen Ross in Miami. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like the Jerry Jones and Robert Krafts think about like, oh, I need to do it right now. So we'll see. It's definitely an interesting team, and I do like Drake May as well. When I saw that headline, I'm like, oh, that's too aggressive on the Patriots. And again, and even in this segment, you're like, well, I saw the Patriots almost beat our Bills. Come on, the Patriots stunk last year, and that was with Gerard Mayo.
Beat the Bengals.
In week 2, when it was like, come on, they stunk last year, and it's just a long road to see. And then again, I didn't see the Commanders last year, but still. I don't know. Okay. We should get to updates. Andrew Bogusch. Notice neither of us had the Giants as a worst to first team.
Not possible. Could they be worst to third? I'll take that.
Worst to worst. Who's going worst?
You mean third in the NFC East?
Yeah, just move me up a spot.
You don't hear that segment enough on Sports Talk Radio? Who's going to go from worst to worst?
Honestly, the Giants and the Jets would be pretty good contenders. Can I update a poll question that Andrew Bogusch gave to us off a news story that he gave us earlier in the show? And this one slipped by me, Bogue, so thanks so much for bringing it up, that it was the 40th anniversary of Bobby Knight throwing a chair famously across the court. And Indiana basketball celebrated this. They have the chair. They kept the chair. Mike Woodson sat in the chair. They end up upsetting Purdue, so that's kind of fun. Put the poll question out. Big debate today. Should we celebrate the 40th anniversary of Bobby Knight throwing a chair? The options were yes, it's iconic. No, it's embarrassing. No, it's embarrassing is leading 53%. So not by a lot, but that's an embarrassing moment, not an iconic moment, slightly as the lead. You guys surprised by that?
Yeah, I thought there'd be more Perloff people who wanted chairs thrown. So I thought I was going to lose this debate.
Well, one thing, it's definitely iconic. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Everybody who knows anything about Bob Knight, that's kind of the first visual that comes to mind. Do we have? There is on camera him hitting Pat, whatever his name is.
Well, there's the weird Neil Reed.
Neil Reed, right, right.
Neil Reed.
That's on camera, right? But the
not
chair.
on TV camera. That's on practice video, where it's grainy.
Oh, okay, right. The chair is just what's the one image you think of with Bob Knight? And I think it's the chair, or maybe the Keith Smart. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the chair does. It's like a cult hero, and I don't mind Indiana having it, and I wouldn't even mind if they just mentioned that yesterday was the 4th anniversary, and it was against Purdue then, and then that's who they played yesterday. But to bring the chair out like it was a throne and place it there, and have Mike Woodson use it, but not throw it, and it was just weird.
Well, I think if Bob Knight hadn't done the other things, like hit the kid, then we would have been more okay. Like Earl Weaver had these famous, the former Orioles manager had these famous outbursts, and now it's charming. As long as you don't hit a player, I think you're okay.
Yeah, if he had bent the legs of the chair out of anger, great, funny, haha, mark that every single year. But he threw it at a referee. It just happened to not hit the referee in the shins.
Wait, bent the legs on the chair. What is he, Magneto?
If he did something,
how would he do that?
If he did something non-violent.
Well, he wasn't really throwing it at the official. I mean, he was throwing it into air. I mean, it didn't hit the official.
It didn't, but I don't know that it was by design.
Isn't this like Tom Brady breaking a iPad on the sideline a little bit?
No.
He didn't throw the iPad at the official.
But we've had a million coaches.
Mike Carey, whoever his name is.
He didn't throw the chair at I just watched it. Like, he wasn't really trying to hit the official. He's trying to throw it out of anger.
Also a little benefit of the doubt here. Like, Tom Brady, we don't have, 20 years of him throwing stuff. We have Bob Knight as a loose cannon. And he did it to intimidate people. And it definitely worked. He was an intimidating person who I don't think had to be as mean as he was to be as good of a coach as he was. I
don't know. It's, again, I feel like you couldn't have half Bob Knight. You were either going to get that whole Bob Knight. There was no, he definitely had this weird personality where I don't think he could turn it on and off like that.
Right, but the full Bob Knight is why this moment is, to me, not something that created an awkward moment yesterday in celebrating it. If that was his lone thing, you have a whole different look at this. But when you tack on the more serious stuff, the dude was crazy, and you're making light of him being crazy.
Oh, I see.
Also, where should the chair go? Is this in a museum? Do you put it behind glass at Indiana? I don't know what you do with the chair. I guess sit in it if you're Mike Woodson.
I think the chair is definitely historic. It definitely merits this kind of preservation. 100%.
I'm okay that they still have it. Letting Mike Woodson use it was weird yesterday.
I'm kind of surprised that some Indiana alum, right? Who's some of their big University of Indiana alums? Joe Buck, right? It's a big Indiana. Nobody ponied up for this at an auction. Hey, I paid $200,000. Yeah, Isaiah Thomas didn't want to pony up for the chair.
Oh, by the way, I'm watching it. He did not throw it at the official. That is a total mischaracterization.
But again,
he missed it by 10 feet.
Because you're giving him credit for having control of a chair sliding across the floor.
I am. It's like bowling. The dude knew what he was doing. It did. Yeah. And by the way, it did hit some people in the audience, but it was going pretty slow at that point.
Oh, okay, good.
This is perfectly acceptable.
Phew.
Just as he designed.
Yeah, thankfully.
Do you think there's
you put some backspin on so it would die before the baseline?
But would most Hoosiers fans take this now compared to what the program's been?
I mean, they might take full-on assault these days. They want wins.
Yeah, I know.
This is going to be an interesting hire because we know Mike Woodson is out. So who's going to be the next head coach of Indiana?
You started off earlier in the show they're somewhat irrelevant now. I mean, it's not a premier hire anymore, is it?
Not really.
I still think it is. I do. I don't think it's lost the luster head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I still think in college basketball circles, again, Tom Crean did take them to a Sweet 16. It's not like they've been. I mean, it's been rough. I'm not going to lie, but I think it's still a marquee job.
It's a very good job. It's not the tip-top elitist of jobs. It's not Duke, but it's on the next level down. But the problem is, that fan base is crazy. That's a hard job. No one's happy, and no matter who you are, I guess unless you're Dan Hurley, winning at an obscene rate is hard to do these days.
Yeah, I mean...
No, you're right about that.
But we wouldn't have necessarily seen the success that Dan Hurley had at UConn coming, so maybe there's somebody like that.
Yeah, but I mean, they already had Brad Stevens, who was the number one pie-in-the-sky guy. He's no from him. Dusty May got a nice big fat extension at Michigan, so he's off that list. Does Mick Cronin come back from UCLA? That's the kind of guy you're going to... And not to knock him, but the idea of they could pick whoever they wanted... Maybe their top two guys have already taken themselves out of consideration.
Yeah.
Did you see Rick Pitino stumping for Chris Beard to get?
Yes.
Wow. There's a lot going on there.
But he's got some baggage. But I mean, he's back already. He's coaching in the SEC. Can I tell you guys quickly? Yeah. Go ahead.
Former interim coach Dan Doncic, who's now think he could jump back in. I'm being half kidding.
I feel is Dan Doncic running for office?
Dan Doncic is the most polarizing person on radio. So I don't even know if he's on radio now. He's a trip.
How about Doug Gottlieb?
How's he doing in Eastern Michigan?
Let's get Doug Gottlieb to be the coach of Indiana.
I mean, Doug would do it.
He will.
Can I tell you my favorite person now, my favorite player in the Big Ten? Well, I was watching over the weekend, Michigan State upsetting Michigan on Friday night. Jace Richardson, freshman, son of Jason Richardson. I feel like Perloff here that I'm a little late to the party on Jace Richardson, but in fact, he's been really turning it on over the last 5 games or so. This dude is awesome. Big Jace Richardson fan, guys. I'm calling it now.
Big fan.
All right. Well, Bogusch, can you hang on for a second? We left you absolutely no time for the update, so hold tight for a second. 855-212-4227. We're back with all the headlines in just a moment.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining.
All 2 minutes. 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 2 min
30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie and Perloff show. Perloff is back from vacation, and it feels like all's right in the world, even though he had to deal with poisonous snakes, crocodiles, potential sunburn.
Yeah.
Fruit.
Could have been tainted fruit, but luckily everything was fine.
Okay. Total left turn. Andrew Bogusch here. I did see a bunch of movies on 2 long plane rides, and I'm gearing up for Oscar season, as I know you are, Maggie. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of debates in the break about what should win the best picture. I say nothing. I say you go no award. Or like
This is like the Hall of Fame where
like
baseball.
Yeah, all the talents in TV shows, like these movies, like, oh my God, like give me a break.
I feel like we're a long way from the Barbie Oppenheimer thing where kind of everybody was seeing at least one of those two
Barbie
movies.
was a great movie.
And it became like a big cultural phenomenon. I don't think these movies have had that impact. Maybe the Bob Dylan movie with Timothée Chalamet, but
and Wicked,
and I guess Wicked to a certain subset. Yeah,
but I mean, certain subset called anyone with access to a movie screen. What are you talking about?
I don't know, dude.
Subset. Wicked
I don't know.
is gigantic.
It's based off a Broadway play. If you know,
Yes, like
is that playing everywhere?
Yes. Like, people come from all over the country to watch Wicked. It's the longest-running Broadway play.
I think it was for... Was it for women? Wasn't it more geared towards women, or am I crazy?
You're crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it.
Wicked's like getting up there with Cats and Les Mis is the most successful play of all time. Yeah, it's and the movie couldn't possibly be bigger. But that being said, I don't think that's going to win. I don't think the Bob Dylan movie is going to win. I think it is the movie you guys were talking about, which I've not seen yet, called Honora. I think that's going to win.
Well, I put this in my stock down because not because it's a bad movie, but because the description of the movie did not accurately show what the viewer was in for with the gratuitous nudity and
a nudie magazine day. Heads up.
Oh, Jesus.
Nice.
I mean, here's the thing. You don't have to give me like the plot twist if it's some kind of thriller, but you really are stretching if you're calling this a romance movie, which is what they did. This is not The Notebook here. This is a stripper meets a young
It's the Kama
Russian
Sutra
oligarch
version of The Notebook.
son. Yeah, some more close to that. I was like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. This is a romance? That's stretching the word romance.
I can't wait.
I've seen none of these movies that are nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, no one has.
No one else has either.
Yeah, I mean, The Brutalist with Adrian Brody is basically the Seinfeld made fun of the artsy movie all the time, like Rochelle. It's like from Milan to Minsk. The Brutalist is like only a movie critic would see that movie, and that's got a shot to win the whole thing too.
And the Demi Moore movie, no one knew existed until she won a Golden Globe or something for it. Like that was never. Yeah.
Because that wasn't in the theater.
No.
I did love the Bob Dylan movie. Did you guys see that one?
Yes.
I'd be fine with that winning, but I don't know. It seems like everyone loves Honora, which I will see this week to weigh in on, especially now that I know
Did everybody keep their clothes on in the Bob Dylan movie? Like, I'm not a prude here. It's not about that. It's just you got to let people know what they're walking into a little bit. Anyway, Bogusch, we shortchanged you last segment. Didn't get to the headlines. What's up, dude?
Most people are okay with extra nudity.
Yeah, by the way, it's like, well, we're not going to give it the Oscar because the description on Amazon was inaccurate.
Big time.
Right.
There's also Dune Part 2. This is not guy.
Yeah, now all of a sudden I'm the one who's like the shrinking violet over to the side.
Yeah.
It's not that. You just gotta, I don't know, don't you want to be prepped a little? That should have been NC-17.
Pour yourself a bottle of water. I don't understand. What did you want to do to prep for Honora?
I would have
Get some
picked a
wine?
different movie. Yeah, I would have picked a different movie. Listen, I'm sick at home. I'm here at the home studios.
Okay.
I got tissues everywhere. This was just not the night where I was like, all right, let's watch some racy movie. It was like, no.
Wait. So you're right. Let's watch the movie about the Brutalist, about an architect who escapes war-torn Europe, or Conclave, like basically a real-life story about succeeding the Pope. Or why don't we go to like
Bounce, chicka,
like
bounce.
what is it?
Yeah.
There's no upbeat movie. There's no Sydney Sweeney in a rom-com. What
Big
were you going to
fan.
go with? I don't
Yeah, and it was
understand what
all
your
kids.
other
I did
choice was.
see that one.
There you go.
What's that
Just
called?
needed something a little lighter.
Anyone But You,
than-
I think.
Yeah, Anyone But You, Glenn Powell and Sydney
Yeah.
Sweeney. That's what you should have watched. Have you watched that one?
I have not, but I wish I had, because I needed just something, maybe a couple jokes, maybe a little, you know how like when you're sick and you have comfort food? It's kind of like the same thing. I was looking for the chicken soup type of movie, and instead I got the thong movie or whatever.
Cisco loves that movie.
Yeah, the thong is what I got. And I was lucky if I got the thong, to be honest. Like
There were thongs. I can confirm there were thongs.
It was
in that
pretty
movie.
pretty racy.
Wait,
pretty racy.
Help me out, Bogusch. Was it racier than Poor Things with that got nominated last year with Emma Stone?
Poor Things was weirder than Anora. I couldn't, if you're talking about like just screen time of thongs, I don't know who had more of that. But Poor Things was weird. But I didn't leave it going, why didn't you tell me Emma Stone was going to be naked in this movie? Like Maggie seems to be upset. Then she give a heads up on Anora.
Somebody, I mean,
Well,
give me
listen, you clearly
send up a flare. I mean, sheesh.
you were feeling a little under the weather. You should have gone with something a little more easy to watch.
Sure
The
thing.
nominees, like, how about I'm Still Here, the political biographical drama. Yeah, it is. Looks like. Was nominated. It looks like the worst time ever. A mother and an activist coping with the forced disappearance of her husband. Oh, there we go. That makes me feel better. There's no good movies for you when you're sick.
I should have watched something
You
else.
wanted like Airplane or something like that, right?
I did actually suggest to my husband, I'm like, should we watch an older movie? Like maybe go back and watch one that we missed, like from the 70s or, Jack Nicholson. I don't know. Let's watch Chinatown again. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
Just something.
Yeah.
And instead we went with Nora. I was like, oh, man. So now I'm depressed. I just watched a lot of topless, bottomless women.
As our audience is
Handsome
about to
men.
do after this show, like
Got something to
Manny
watch.
and Alex had no
Manny's
interest
already
in Nora, and now all of a sudden it's like to-do list, rent a Nora tonight.
I am 2 feet in.
I'm going to be honest. I've probably done more publicity for this movie than anyone.
Yeah, there's too much.
They didn't tell me beautiful women were going to be naked this whole
dare
movie. Those.
You know what? But just so you know, it sets you up for the gut punch at the end.
Yeah, it's a heavy movie.
Bogusch, let's get to updates.
Yeah, I got a password you can
Well,
share happily
No,
with you
let's
guys.
not do updates. Let's add some spoilers in there. Why not? Thank you. What is going on here? Why did you drop that spoiler at the end of the show? You didn't even let Bogusch do his updates.
I hope they weren't sponsored, were they?
Of course not. Buy Anora in theaters now.
But just don't
Don't bring
watch
your
the
grandma. Thanks, Manny and Alex and Bogusch and Kaplan. See you tomorrow.
You're in a 5-minute break.